Yeah, but I mean the mailing, I can't, yeah. You guys voted on that, right? Yeah. She feels terrible.
You weren't there.
Sad.
But then you're also not as a drug detection. Good evening, everyone. Let me call the Oak Hill City Commission meeting to order. If we'll stand for a moment of silence and then the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mayor Gibson.
Here.
Vice Mayor Limbaugh.
Here.
Commissioner Catagano.
Here.
Commissioner Hyatt.
Here.
Commissioner Steve McKinney is absent with a phone call. He's calling.
All right. Agenda modifications. I'd like to move item K, City Administration Matters, to item E, City Administration Reports. I have a proclamation to read, Fair Housing Month. Proclamation to the City of Oak Hill, Florida, Fair Housing Month, April 2024. Whereas the Fair Housing Act, enacted on April the 11th, 1968, enshrined into federal law the goal of the eliminating racial segregation and ending housing discrimination in the United States. And the Fair Housing Act prohibits discrimination in housing based on race, color, religion, sex, family status, national origin, disability, and commits recipients of the federal funding to affirmatively further fair housing in their community. The City of Oak Hill is committed to the mission and intent of Congress to provide fair and equal housing opportunities for all. In our social fabric, the economy, health, environment, are strengthened in diverse, inclusive communities. More than 50 years after the passage of the Fair Housing Act, discrimination persists and many communities remain segregated. Acts of housing discrimination and barriers to equal housing opportunity are repugnant to a common sense of decency and fairness. Now, therefore, it is resolved that I, Douglas A. Gibson, Mayor of the City of Oak Hill, by virtue of the authority vested to me by Oak Hill, Volusia County, Florida, do hereby proclaim April 2024 as Fair Housing Month. In Oak Hill, as an inclusive community committed to fair housing and promoting appropriate activities by private and public entities to provide and advocate for equal housing opportunities for all residents and prospective residents of the City of Oak Hill. I hereto set my hand the 11th day of April 24 and cause this seal to be affixed. Okay,
Mr. Mayor,
yes.
we have someone here who,
Can we just get a picture of you real quick?
yes, she's
Get the
from
proclamation.
New Smyrna.
Pass the tongue twister test.
What'd you do with it?
Oh. You told me to take.
Get the real one, not my copy.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
There you go, sir.
Okay. Here we go.
I like your shoes. I think I have the black versions of the same thing. Oh, take theirs.
All right.
Thank you.
Good job, John.
Yes.
You have a
Good
day.
seeing you.
See you next time.
Yes. All right, citizens' participation, public input, non-agenda items.
Joanne Welch.
Joanne Welch, 222 Cypress Avenue. I just wanted to let the commission know, I know it's been put out and it's out on the thing. There is a cleanup this Saturday at Sankton Center Cemetery. It's not going to be as large as some of our other ones, but we've got a lot of work we've got to get done. The public is invited to come out and join us. It will be from 9 to 2, 9 until 2.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joanne. Anyone else?
Yes, Carrie Warning.
Carrie Warning, Indian Creek Road. Just want to get some clarification. I've had a few residents in the community come and ask me questions regarding reimbursement on the sewer project. I recall during the conversations at the meetings that it was said that they bring the paperwork in, show that they have completed everything, and that following Friday a check would be written and they'd be reimbursed the $2,100 or $2,200. But I've had a couple of them come to me and say that they were told they had to wait until there were enough people to go ahead and request the money. Second one said, they just didn't get an answer, we'll get back with you. So my question to you is, who's writing the checks and when will they be paid to the residents so that I can go back to these people and let them know?
Thank you, Carrie.
Do I get an answer?
I think the answer was given to those people. When the checks are written, they'll be notified. And
Okay,
that's all I
so
can,
it's
that's,
when there's enough people that submitted it or what? What do I tell them?
Mr. Adams.
We are working with the state to get the process in place. As soon as I have more information, it will be forthcoming. If anyone has any questions or concerns, they can always call the office.
So is the state now writing these checks or is the city writing the check?
The city will be writing the checks, but I have a process that I have to go through with the state before I can actually start issuing checks.
Do we have any sort of an idea how long that might be?
I don't have an estimate at this time.
Okay. That's not gonna make any people happy.
Next.
Henry Mullen.
Yes.
New resident just moved into 205 Woodlawn Mist. And behind us is the Mary Weiss Park, which we discovered, if I could just give you a little bit of a happening from yesterday. There was a gathering yesterday, and it got a little loud, and I can't get this to play. But, Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I didn't know if you were interested in listening or not.
I'm listening.
Okay.
I was
called the sheriff's
I was
department
writing your
twice.
name and what this was about.
Thank you.
Pardon me.
Called the sheriff's department twice, they had a deputy come down, and he called me back and said, there's nothing you can do about it, they had a permit to be there. So we basically had to leave the house because it was so loud. Our house butts up to the recreation area. And two of my neighbors also called in about the same thing. I talked to Mike today in zoning, and he said that apparently he didn't know about it yesterday. He doesn't know who issued the permit for them to have their gathering. Nothing against people getting together, but it became very, very loud yesterday from 1 to 5 p.m. And was well over the county 60 decibels, because I did check my decibel. Mike said to bring it up to you folks about changing the process on giving permits out, because apparently this one went out with no information being brought in that they were going to have a live band.
So noted, thank you.
Thank you, sir. It'd be nice if I could get this to play for you. Give me the other 10 seconds I have in my account here. No, it doesn't want to play for you. But if you need to see it, I will send it to Aaron. Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, sir.
And we have Carrie Warning again.
You're up.
Carrie?
It's on the
Oh, was it on the agenda? All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Nope, that is it.
That was it? City administration reports and the city administrator matters. Mr. Adams?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Commissioners, the first two items, the purchase of the property north of the Mary Louise Ball Field and the sale of Nancy Street property, combined those two, just an update. Letters were sent to all parties and just waiting on a response. So as soon as I have any more information on that, I will let the commission know. Okay. K1, the Oak Hill Community Trust flyer. So a flyer was sent out from the Oak Hill Community Trust, and it has created some bit of confusion or concern. So this is basically on the agenda for the commission and anyone who's from the Oak Hill Community Trust to provide input or to discuss, so clarification can be made, and any inconsistencies or any issues that may arise can be addressed.
The flyer was only sent out to one mailing area. And in the bottom of the flyer, it says, today the VIA is called the OHCT because of nonprofit status. The motive and spirit remains the same. I came to City Hall because I got this, and I said to Mr. Adams, you know anything about this? Thinking possibly that the Oak Hill Community Trust reached out and said they were going to absorb the VIA name. He reached out to, after asking me who I thought should be able to give him some information, and I said Dana Greatrix, mainly because she was involved with the VIA Hall a long time ago. And I figured, not sure what they're doing, and she responded to Mr. Jerome, and she gave a dissertation of the history and everything, and she said, there's no ulterior motive, I can assure you, no hidden message, just my attempt to clarify historical roots of the current OHCT and its goals. And she went on when, never did answer why. Why all of a sudden the change? To give you a little history, and she did for us, and Mr. Clinton can verify, the Village Improvement Association, for all intents and purposes, was the first governing body in this city. And at a point, they had that octagon building. They moved it from where it was, put it on the piece of property on Halifax, where it now sits, and they deeded that property to the city of Oak Hill. The Village Improvement Association became defunct. It was non-existent from then. The city attorney, Mr. Scott, did a 501c3 for the Oak Hill Community Trust. Unfortunately, in data files in the city's records, there's no records. I found a letter from James Birch III, president of the association, the VIA. The VIA, for all intents and purposes, with the research that was done, was never incorporated. It was just a name. To clarify, any of you sitting in here could have taken the name and provided an LLC with that name. I think that's what the community trust. I don't know if you can incorporate a name into your 501c3. Can you? Scott?
You can have a fictitious name with an entity. An entity can have a legal fictitious name, but the Oak Hill Community Trust really had nothing to do with the VIA. The reason the Oak Hill Community Trust was created was not to continue the VIA or anything like that. That was never, that would have been in the incorporated documents. It was created for a not-for-profit, tax-exempt not-for-profit, where the public can make charitable donations that were deductible to the city for, could be viewed as private purposes, to be able to go and help people who have homes that are needing repair. The Family Days that is done in Port Orange is done by their community trust. It's done to create a not-for-profit tax-exempt entity to do things for the city. Honestly, I never heard of the VIA. I heard of VIA Hall, but I didn't know what VIA meant. To be honest with you, I thought it was something to do with veterans. So, until all this kind of came up. But it's not I couldn't find anything that, any legal documents that created some type of legal entity. The deed you referenced that went to the city, it was from the trustees of the Village Improvement Association. So I don't know if that means there were a trust that was created, but I'd also note that it was a quitclaim deed. Just saying whatever interest they had, they're giving to the city. It wasn't a warranty deed where they say they are warranting that they own this property. Which kind of makes sense is that it almost seems like this was like a Wilbur by the Sea. You ever heard of Wilbur by the Sea, Mormon by the Sea? Those are not incorporated areas. They're not in the unincorporated area, but they have a name. And that sounds like what the Village Improvement Association was. Now maybe there's some legal document out there that someone can provide that would say, here's the legal entity. Probably when the city was formed, if we saw the original charter of the city, it may make reference to the Village Improvement Association, the original charter of the city. Current charter does not. But I'm pretty comfortable in telling you because I was involved in the creation of the Oak Hill Community Trust. The Oak Hill Community Trust did not have anything to do with the Village Improvement Association. That's not why it was created.
Thank you. I'm just gonna go, Dana Greatrix sent me an email on April the 2nd. And basically said there was no ulterior motive. I can assure you, no hidden message. What struck me was her comment that she'd invested the best of her lives protecting the city and the community. There are no claims on the building. I suggest you take down the original sign on the building. I have nothing more to say. Thank you, Dana Greatrix. The Historical Society awarded that building, and the name on the application is the VIA. I don't like this, but it bothered me that that she recommends, she's a board member of the Oak Hill Community Trust. And she said the city should take down the sign. Okay, first thing that popped into my mind, how does that affect the historical? Because that was awarded to the BIA. And that's why it's on the agenda. The city doesn't have any, from what I've been told, legal rights to some name. And that's what it was. Even though, in my humble opinion, it was the first board that governed this city. Dana Greatrix was secretary. I think Jimmy Van was involved. I know James Birch was involved. He was president. But the issue is, I don't believe we should take the name off that building. And the comment was made to me, well, there's going to be a bronze plaque issued from the historical side. Yeah, there is. But that sign to me, and this is just me, I don't speak for anybody else. This is just me. That's part of history. Leave it alone. You know, if you want a fictitious name on the community trust, fine and dandy. But leave everything just like it is. It'd be like this commission coming in and saying we're changing the name of Chung Park. That man, through Dana, contributed a lot of money to that building and to that park. So I've said my piece. I just don't think we should follow her suggestion of removing the sign.
Denise King? I think the mayor said it all, okay?
Mayor,
Joanne?
wasn't that document actually written to Jerome? The one that you said that she sent to you in a response?
They have become public record.
Yeah, it
And
went to
was-
Jerome.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, you said she sent it to you.
Well, no, she responded to me.
If you look at the dates on there, you'll see that that was actually a response to Jerome's second inquiry about the. And I think that her remark was more out of frustration than it was anything else. I don't think she ever intended
What
for
was-
the
you know,
community trust to take the sign off the building. I think she was just
When
telling you
Pete,
guys to
when,
leave her alone.
I think she was
When-
frustrated.
That's right. There you go.
when people start dodging,
Nobody's dodging
the
anything.
hair jumps up on the back of my neck. I'm a cop.
First of all, the document doesn't say anything about the community trust taking the name. This document in question, this one right here,
Today,
say
the VIA is called the OHCT
right,
because of nonprofit status.
right.
How do you interpret that?
All right, I'll tell you.
I figured you would. You had a long conversation with Dana.
The VIA, when it dissolved, and Scott put everything back together, it became from the VIA to the Oak Hill Events Committee. The members went into that, became that organization, which was an actual part of the city. And then when Scott came to do the Oak Hill Community Trust, when they were going for the grant, those members became part of the community trust, those existing members. So in theory, what Dana said is accurate. The VIA became the Oak Hill Community Trust. What remaining members of the VIA emerged or evolved into the community trust, and that was years and years ago.
Oh, yeah.
And she makes a statement, a pretty benign statement here in this flyer, and all of a sudden, this is some kind of a thing. I don't get it. I don't see any. I don't get it. I think you guys are way off base on this. Nobody ever said anything like that. So that's my piece.
Is it my turn? Hi, Drew Ann Welch, 222 Cypress Avenue. I want to make a note. Although I am on the city's historic board, I am not representing the board. I am speaking for myself as a citizen. We all got that?
Got that.
Thank you.
I just want to clarify things because it gets a little nutty. First off, I want to thank you, Scott, for saying what you said. I agree with everything you've seen. I'm a researcher. I look things up, I figure them out, and I know what happens in history. That's what I do for things. I'm not too bad at it, and I work really hard at it. I had sent, when all this came up, I had sent Mr. Adams some documents of things I've done. What I can tell you is that according to newspaper articles that are available from the Daytona Beach News Journal, I don't have a copy of it, but in 2002, when the Village Improvement Association, which included Dana Graytrix, I believe Mary Deweese, I believe was on in 2002, and several other people. They were unable at that point in time to continue the work they had done for many years to maintain and keep the hall known as the VIA Hall up. That they therefore came to the city, told the city they could no longer do it, disbanded their organization, and I've seen the word disbanded several times. When you disband, you no longer exist. We can all agree on that. It's a matter of semantics. So in 2002, they quit claimed that building and the park to the city. That we all agree on. Thank you for pointing that out. But I just want you to say, I found some stuff that can back that up. In 2007, it appears that when the renovation began and when they went to do the restoration of the building, that it may have become necessary, and I'm reading into you, Scott, from what I read when you did the incorporation, it looks like it was done to assist with the restoration, to have a nonprofit that perhaps people could give money to help with the restoration. Nowhere in the documentation that Mr. Simpson provided, nowhere in any other documentation, including within the ECHO grant, do you see that the community trust has anything to do with the VIA. Unfortunately, the one thing I do have to bring up at this time is that according to the community trust's current website, on their About Us page, there's a lovely picture of the VIA hall, and it says, and I quote, "Our purpose. The Oak Hill Community Trust was formerly the Village Improvement Association." As a side note, that is not true, because the Village Improvement Association was a separate entity that was disbanded in 2002. Again, semantics. The problem is, the next part it says, this octagonal community building was built in 1906 and the association was formed to bring community members together to socialize and help each other. Well, that's true, but I don't understand why that's part of the purpose of the trust. The next thing it says, and I quote again, "Through the years, this building has served as a place for ladies to come together to quilt, fishermen to build nets, fundraising, spaghetti dinners, fish fries, and barbecues, family reunions, town hall meetings, garden club, Girl Scouts, and Taekwondo. And underneath it, it says meetings of the OHCT are held first Tuesday of the month at Mary Louise Park. Where your confusion comes in is that you have an organization that has nothing to do with an organization that is completely defunct. We can all agree on that now, right? And they are advertising that that association and that building are part of their purpose. Personally, if I look at this page as someone who's written websites, it doesn't look like there's any purpose at all to the community trust except to advertise the building and what the history of the VIA Hall was. This is where your problem is, ladies and gentlemen. This is why it continues to be a problem. It's a matter of semantics. If we correct the semantics, because the city does own this building. Mr. Simpson, I'm sure will agree. The city owns the building. The city owns the rights to the building, and the community trust is a separate entity and not for profit. I just wanted to see if I could clarify that for y'all. Aaron, I don't know if you want to share this with the other children in the class. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew Ann.
You're welcome.
During my looking through data files, I came across an agreement between the city and the Oak Hill Community Trust. Whereas the community trust would basically keep the place clean, maintain the inside, maintain the outside. When the historical board was formed, the prior city administrator terminated that agreement. And the city will now go into negotiation to get a contract with a cleaning company. The only thing that's on this is her, and we have two over here that think it was from frustration. And it very well may have been. All I'm saying is, I'm not taking the sign down. I'm one vote. I vote no to what her request was. It's very simple.
So if we leave the sign up, everything's okay?
Heck yes.
Let's do it.
I mean, that was
Part of the building's history, so I think it needs to
Yeah.
just stay there.
Robert Clinton?
Hello, my name is Robert Clinton. I am the current chairman of the Oak Hill Community Trust of all of 2 months now. So I'm kind of getting hit with this. I've been a member of the Oak Hill Community Trust for I think 17 years. During that time I've missed 3 meetings, and I've seen almost everybody on this dais at our meetings at one time or another. We have done nothing underhanded. And I explain this to the Community Trust board members. I am the spokesman for the Community Trust. If somebody has a question, Jerome, they come to me. The sign issue, I believe, because the plaque designates the VIA Hall as a historic building, not the Village Association, Village Improvement Association. In my opinion, if we just added the name Hall to that sign on the front of the building, which I thought was always there, but I went by today and it's not, then the problem would probably be settled. That's,
Mr. Clinton.
Thank you, Robert.
yes, Joe.
When this, could I hold this, please?
Yeah.
When this document was created, and it was approved by the board, right?
Mhm.
Of the Oak Hill Community Trust, right?
It was passed around to everybody at the table. We had 1,000 of them printed out. I was told they were sent to a select few people. We sent out nearly 700 of the 1,000. And we held back on a few. We're going to put them here at the City Hall and in the post office and in the VIA Hall for anybody that might be interested in joining the Oak Hill Community Trust. We have our board of directors, which I think is composed of 7 members and a few people like Linda, who's there monthly, and Kathy, but we need more members. Many of you know that if you want to get something done, usually it's the board of directors that takes the bull by the horns and does a majority of the work. We need more members in there to help us get things done. We just had an Easter egg hunt, great success, but it was, the husbands and wives of the board members that did most of the work. We do cleanup at Saints and Sinners Cemetery once a year. And once again, it's the board of directors and the few volunteers we can get to go out there and help us. The postcard was sent out strictly to try and get volunteers to join the Oak Hill Community Trust. There is no other hidden intent about it. So, I was just surprised that there was a problem with it and people were reading between the lines.
Thank you, Robert. I can't see adding the name Hall to the building
Just leave it like it
because
is.
that
Leave
sign.
it like it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm Tanya, I'm the chair of the historical board, and the only problem with the comments about changing the name is we are now a state historical site. So that conversation can't take place until we have the state, we have a special meeting, and those grounds are. So as hard as we have worked to make that, I'm not sure where this conversation has gone or how it's gone in any way. We cannot add Hall to that. That's just not the option. And that is history. And I'm not sure how we've got into all the back and forth, but I know since for the last 9 months, we've worked really hard to get that there. And all the negativity, whether it's good or bad, keeps people from joining. And we are so small, and I really wish that this needs to be settled. I would rather have a special meeting where you have the community trust, you have the preservation board and the commission, and then everybody can have the conversation that they want to have and talk about what can be said and not be said. Having a city building on a flyer, is that allowed? Not allowed. I don't have an opinion on that part because I don't know what was to be done with the flyer. I know it was to gain people. I agree, we all need people for our boards. We need the help. So there's 3 of us on my board, including Dana Graytrex, who is on both boards. So I know that the name change really is not an option for anyone because then that involves the state, and that is a national state historic site at this time. So thank you guys.
Tanya, I have one question for you. Can you think of any particular instance where somebody asked for a name change?
Why would they?
I'm just
That's what
asking
we
a
were
question.
No.
Okay.
No, we don't need a name change. I don't know the statement that was made, just change the name, don't know why that would be made. We cannot do that. And adding Hall to it is changing the name too. That sign has been on that building for that long. So, and the back and forth with it, I would love to sit down and meet with them, but I don't think you're gonna get all of that in a city meeting like this. So, just let y'all know that's a historic site that can't be done like that. Thank you.
well, there's 3 of us that say leave the sign up, so to me, this is done. Any other comments?
Charlie Dean?
Charlie?
Shirley Dean, 157 East Halifax. Robert hit pretty much what I was there are some things that you could do to the sign or around the sign or over the sign. Why don't you put the date that the VIA was originally founded and the date that it ended? That would take all the ambiguity away from it, okay? If you had when it started, 1907, and when it ended in 2004, that's, it's still called the VIA. If that's what everybody wants to say, I think it should be the VIA Hall should be up there also like Robert does. But also, if you put the dates, the string of dates that's on it, you don't have to put it on the sign that says Village Improvement Association, but you can put it under it or over it.
Thank you, Charlie.
The new sign that is coming encompasses all that.
Okay.
Good.
Okay? It's the history, everything is on there. And I think that back in August of 2023, we went through all this.
Okay.
So it's all in there. If those minutes are brought up, you will see the approved sign and what it says. It is very much there for everybody to read.
Thank you, Doug.
Good.
You're welcome.
That's it for comments regarding this issue.
Mr. Adams.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, the next item I had was the Brownfields agreement. I was contacted by someone from the county to remind us that there are grant monies available to do Brownfield studies that's available to Edgewater, New Smyrna Beach, and Oak Hill. And these funds expire on September 30th of this year. The total amount is $91,473.21, bringing it to the commission for ideas as far as where in the city of Oak Hill we think these monies could be spent to provide some kind of remediation for areas that might need it.
Mr. Adams, in data files, do we have a list of brownfields that have been done in the city? Some, I recall that we had brownfields done.
I think we did.
We did one for
think
the
I remember.
park, for the property at Flamingo and Halifax, didn't we?
I think so.
I think we did.
I think so, but I think we
126
had,
East Halifax, 2014.
Yeah.
Flamingo Road, 2014.
that was, okay, that was the
That was a
community
brownfield.
garden, yeah.
For the brown, yeah.
Mr. Dean, would you come up, please? I'm gonna pick on you. Mainly for your memory.
That's getting bad.
Oh,
I might just forgot everything you was asking.
weren't there several gas stations along US 1?
Oh, but yes. Oh, but yes.
And I,
Okay, it starts off at the truck stop, or the flea market,
okay,
okay? There was gas stations there with diesel and everything else, and that started back in the 30s, okay? And it run all the way up through probably the early 70s. Then, of course, you've got the grocery box. Then you had Caroline's, which I think the city owns that, which is the old Maynard building
No, that's
up here on the left,
on US 1?
on US 1.
No, the city sold that.
Okay. Then, of course,
And that was one of the ones I was thinking of, that the brownfield had not, we didn't do anything to that property. And somebody said to me, well, you know, it was an old gas station. And
Yeah.
the tanks are still in the ground.
oh yeah, tanks are still in the ground there.
So that's the input that we need from individuals like yourself, Charlie, that remember this piece of property had a gas station.
Okay, and then you had Lopez's or Kelly's that a lot of people remember.
Yeah.
That was a Shell gas station, and that goes back into the early 40s.
Whoa.
Okay, then on the northwest corner of Halifax and US 1, there was a Chevron station,
That was a
which was
gas
Warren
station.
Williams's bar. He also had a gas. Across the street at Loretta's,
Uh-huh.
that was a Gulf service station. At the piece of property that I used to own,
Well, where in the world would the tanks be at that location?
down on the ground, in the ground.
No, but,
They was there before they widened US 1,
oh, okay.
okay?
So now they're under the
There was
US
also pumps. There was tanks that had been now I know these have been removed because when I bought the property, I made sure of that. At the corner property, there was a tank on East Halifax, and there was a tank on US 1, on the frontage US 1. They've been removed. Where the Dollar General store is, there was a American Oil, or Standard Oil, I'm sorry, station there. Okay, and that, they probably did away with that station late 60s. Okay, that used to be the bus stop. That's where we used to catch the bus to go to see a movie of New Smyrna. Come on down, the Auto Doctor. That station was put in there in the late 50s. That was a Texaco station. Across the street where the Hot Rod Shop is, that was a Shell gas station, and it goes back to probably the early 40s in there. As you come on south, the next station was down at Richie's Trailer Park. Down here, there was a little Gulf station there. As you go on south, they're at the corner of State Road 3 and US 1 on the east side was Stuckey's. And I don't know when Richie's tanks were pulled. They were still there in the 70s. And I think they only had one tank. And it was probably a 500-gallon tank. But now, Stuckey's had a pretty good sized gas islands. That's as far as I can tell you. I don't know anymore.
That's enough.
That's
to keep
pretty
us
good.
busy.
That'll keep Mr. Jerome busy, won't it?
There you go, Mr. Adams.
Is that all you needed to know?
Thank you, sir.
Now, hold it. Let's back up.
Should I put on timer?
No. There was gas pumps at Smith Life Shrimp Company. Had gas pumps in the ground there, which is on Blinn, between Blinn, Adams, and Sargent. There was gas pumps in the ground there. There was also gas pumps in the ground out at Lafee's.
Yeah, Lafee's, right.
Lafee's, there was gas pumps there.
I imagine those are gone, aren't they?
I don't know. I'm
think
just
so.
telling you there was gas pumps there.
Christy was looking into that to find out. I'll have to talk to her.
And you do know where there was a buck plant here too, a fuel buck plant. That was right over off of Valencia, right after you make the turn between there and the railroad. There was a side rail car there where they come in there and dropped off the fuel.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I knew you'd be helpful with that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I have one other thing I'd like to.
Knock, knock.
He just told me there was one in the river down by at Goodrich's fish shop.
No kidding.
I wasn't
Yeah, I
aware of
thought
that.
it was still there.
Thank you.
But he used to go get the gas.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Adams.
Just wanted to bring one thing up that it's not on the agenda today, but I thought we could at least talk about it for the future. And it's regarding the type of businesses that we allow in our parks. Or specifically, we have one business that they offer horseback riding in the river. They're not located within Oak Hill, but they travel from wherever it is they're located, come to the river, and they have their horses that they rent out to individuals to ride in the river.
We know.
Disturbing the
They were there over the weekend.
so
Persistent.
just our parks code doesn't say anything specifically about the type of animals you're allowing or the type of businesses you're allowing within the park. So just wanted to put that on your radar as something that we'll probably be discussing at a later date.
I wonder if since they're actually going into the river, if that would also kick in some kind of a state regulation that animals are in there kicking up, trampling seagrass and doing whatever else they do just from moving.
Whatever else they do.
Well, yeah, that's true. That's trying to be diplomatic about that.
I just want to make a comment. My concern with this business is I observed an 11-year-old girl, and they used the kayak ramp at Van Park. If that horse throws that child on those rocks, the city is liable. So this is something that we have to address. And I'm not so sure that we have to have a separate ordinance. It seems we could add to the nuisance ordinance that no farm animals in the park, because I believe, and I haven't checked with Edgewater, but I believe theirs says something to the effect, no farm animals in the parks. So this is something, knock on wood, nobody's gotten hurt.
Yeah.
I have a question for the attorney about
Yes.
what you just said. So if somebody got bucked off of the horse and they fell onto the city property, how's that any different than if they were riding down the road and fell on the road and whacked their head?
Well, I'm not sure that we're automatically liable if someone falls. I mean, we are probably concerned about potential liability,
Yeah.
but I can't say that we're automatically liable. Just, it's our property, and so if someone can kind of try to say that it, it's obviously open to the public, and does it create a dangerous condition? That then, it's not, we need to make sure, as it's open to the public, that the property is safe for people to use. So if there's an issue on the property, would someone try to claim that that was a dangerous condition, having the rocks where you knew horses were going? I don't know if they would try to make that argument or not. So, I mean, somebody could try to.
Just keep the horses out of the river.
I can't say we're absolutely liable for it. It's just, there's a potential risk of liability. And unfortunately, in all those situations, the city is always the deep pocket. So everybody tries to figure out how can we tie the city into this? Because they don't want horses. They're not going to sue this company. They may not have liability insurance, and the only assets they have are their horses. So they look for money. The cities, unfortunately, typically the deep pocket they always try to look for in any situation.
And we were working very hard to try to grow grass in the river. You know, we got horses
That's what,
stomping on it.
Commissioner Linville was saying that if that is trampled, once they go into the river, that's state property. That's not city property
Nope.
anymore.
Right,
They're in
right.
state property now. And a lot of jurisdictions they don't want their parks and their facilities becoming places of business. So they're sensitive to those issues. And this is new. I've never heard of this before. What we have had are people who want to have their churches services in city parks. They want to have recovery sessions with their patients in city parks, whether it's alcohol or drug recovery. Those are the type of things that I've seen in other jurisdictions where cities are trying to control those issues. Because you just don't want your city parks and your pavilions all of a sudden just becoming rented by businesses. You want your public to be able to use those for birthday parties or other parties, or whatever
Right.
events they have. And it's easy for businesses, it's free business space. They do their Sunday church service every month, every day, every Sunday in a particular riverfront park. All of a sudden, they're using our property for free to engage in business.
So would a solution to that to just be to have an ordinance that said that you couldn't conduct business in the park? Because then that would kill the parking, because there's nowhere to park down there. Unless they steal some of Goodrich's spots, and they're not going to like that.
No.
I don't know, I'm just throwing that out, as a possible
Where do they
solution.
park the trailers when they bring the horses?
Straight
Just
in the
on
park.
In front of
on River
Goodrich's.
Road?
that park it right in the
In the park.
all of the parking places.
In front of Goodrich's also.
They turn it this way too and take up like half a dozen spots.
Yes,
Wow.
yes.
Henry?
There are a few folks on Lagoon that own horses that I have seen going down to the river. They're not doing it commercially, so will that ban them?
Not because they wouldn't need a place to park, so I don't think that would, unless
No,
they're
I'm just
hauling
saying, Are
there.
they going to be allowed to have their horses go down the river just on a regular go?
That would be a-
They can ride down to the river, sure.
Whether you can go in the river or not would be an issue
But
like
they- yeah,
Scott
they-
said with the
Depends on
state.
what the regulation says. If you had a regulation that said no farm animals in the park,
Right.
then it really wouldn't matter whether they were business or it was a petting zoo for a birthday party.
Yes.
Going to the park, there's no farm animals allowed. If you just focus on businesses, someone going, taking their horses, as you indicated, just down to a ride in the park would not be prohibited. It's not a business.
Yeah.
Just depends on how the regulation is drafted.
Yes.
Joanne?
What if they don't consider their horse a farm animal?
Can you say the name?
Sorry, I'm just.
Drew Ann Welch, 222 Cypress Avenue. This item was on the agenda on September 11th, 2023, under K, new business, horses at Sunrise Park. The notes I have, and someone else may have more thorough notes, Carrie. The conversation was about renting horses, and they were going into the river at Sunrise Park. Nothing that, I guess they're renting them out $80 a head. The discussion was about going in and amending the animal ordinance that we have, because of the problems they were having. And I have here that that someone was going to look at the current ordinance to see about amending it. And it might be more thorough. All I have is the agenda and my personal notes, but that was September 11th, 2023.
Thank you.
Thank you, Drew Ann.
You're welcome. Go ahead.
Neil Bonds, 295 Indian Creek Road, and it's already been touched on by Mr. Simpson and by Mr. Catagano, but I think a well-balanced way to approach this is, number one, just like Volusia County does, there is no private, in other words, not a not-for-profit, private business allowed to be conducted inside of a county park. You can't just conduct your private business there for profit. And as far as the other things, like maybe a church wanted to have a service or something like that, if it's a nonprofit, we put in something that says they have to get a permit. So they have to be approved to use it for a gathering of more than X or so many people, and add right in there, if animals other than typical domestic pets are going to be in the park, they have to get a permit and get it approved so that it can be looked at and decided on an individual basis for nonprofits, or Billy wants to have his petting zoo down there, and it's going to be a nonprofit charity thing. We get a permit for that, and it gets approved by the city. With y'all making a decision, well, yeah, this looks good. This is just a little incident, but having private businesses going down and conducting private business off of city property, in my opinion, is disastrous, and it's unfair to all the other businesses in the city. Can I go ahead and come over to the park and start selling bait? Can I rent my kayaks out of the park? We can't let, in my opinion, one private business make a profitable business off use of the park and cloud it up and take it away from the citizens that are supposed to be able to use that park on Saturday, and they get down there, there's 19 horses marching around, and you're trying to use the park, and they're making a profit doing that. To me, that seems like something we need to just jump on and fix. And if it's non-profit, then they get a permit, take a look at it and see if it fits for the citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bond. Mr. Adams?
That was it, sir.
That was it.
You're done. Okay. No consent agenda. City attorney, any? None. Thank you. Coming up, city planner, Kimberly and Horn. Water supply facility work plan.
Hello, commissioners. Thank you for letting me speak to this. I'm Madeline Kinder with Kinley Horn for the record. I'm a professional engineer with the firm, and I also have my partner Heather Glisson here as well. We developed the 10-year water supply work plan for the city of Oak Hill. Despite you not owning your potable water supply or distributing it or treating it, you are still required to produce a water supply work plan as part of Florida statute. And that's triggered by the regional water supply plan that is published by St. Johns River Water Management District. That's every 5 years. So as part of that water supply plan, it has to be formally adopted into your comprehensive plan. So we've prepared an application that also includes a text amendment. As part of the state statute, the comprehensive plan has to refer to the water supply work plan by name and date. And that's what we've proposed for you. It just says you have I think it's a policy already. And your comprehensive plan had a lot of policies in there that were, I guess, pertinent to the water supply plan. So we just amended it with our company's name and date. And it would also incorporate the water supply work plan by reference into your comprehensive plan.
Mm-hmm. I did notice one incomplete sentence in the data and analysis. It says down at the very end, it says the main thoroughfare in the city, as well as the future construction of the, and then it's blank.
Is that in the current DIA or is that in this?
It's in your data analysis, chapter 8-2. I don't know, I have a page number on it.
That's unfortunately not included as part of the water supply plan work. A DIA update would be separate from this policy. So we did have a good meeting with the planning board 2 weeks ago. I think it was one of the more entertaining planning meetings that I've been to. And they did recommend this for approval, and what would happen after this, if you all would also like to consider it for approval, it would go to the state agency for review and consideration, and it goes to the different departments to review. And I will share that we've already touched base with St. John's and received their preliminary comments and incorporated those in the plan. So we hope that the transmittal to the DEO would be more of a formality, and that would come back to you all for formal approval to accept it as part of your comprehensive plan.
Is there further questions?
Nope.
We need a motion for the ordinance.
Motion, we approve the water ordinance.
You might want to read the ordinance by title.
Yeah, Aaron has to read it.
Ordinance number 2024-01, an ordinance of the City of Oak Hill, Volusia County, Florida, adopting amendments to the city's comprehensive plan to adopt by reference a water supply plan into the intergovernmental coordination element of the plan and add the water supply plan as an exhibit to the public facilities element, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just to clarify, so this is the transmittal hearing. It's being transmitted to the state. They're going to take a little time to review it, then they'll come back with comments. And then they'll come back for second reading for adoption hearing.
Correct.
So there's going to be a little gap between first and second reading.
Yeah.
Because it has to be reviewed by the state and get their comments back and incorporated them.
Any other comments? Call for the vote.
Mayor Gibson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Linlaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Catagano,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyatt.
Yes.
Thank you, Madeline.
Site plan amendment, staff report, 110 West Aerial Road, NKA Oak Hill Station.
Yeah, he's here.
Hi, good evening. My name's Graham Long. I'm with CGA, the city planning consultant. I'm subbing in tonight for Hoyt Holden, who couldn't be here, unfortunately. So I apologize in advance. I have not been involved with this particular application, although I did attend the planning board meeting on February 22nd, where they recommended the site plan amendment approval. I've also done a site visit with Hoyt. And if it's all right with you, there were just a couple of final items to address with the site plan amendment that came out of the planning board meeting. If it's all right with you, I'd like to ask the applicant if he could come up and just give a little bit of the background, and then we can get into those items and make sure that everything was fulfilled, if that's all right. Yeah. Okay. I'm happy
to. Good evening. My name is Mark May, 106 Carlson Cove, Edgewater, Florida. We are bringing Oak Hill its first business park. The site plan has been seen by quite a few people. I'm not sure if you had some questions in particular. It's basically a place people can own or rent a facility to run their business, store their mostly built to run a business is the general concept. When I designed it as a retired paving contractor, I always had trouble finding small spots for small contractors. That's kind of the main focus behind it. Everything will be done indoors. There'll be no outside storage unless there's a separate application for an ancillary use. And then there's only very limited spots that they could do that. We put up a decorative fence around it to add some curb appeal. It'll all be poured with concrete instead of asphalt. It's going to be a place you'll be proud to own, and the city will be proud to have us. I live here in Edgewater with my wife. My 18-year-old nephew just joined us from Idaho a few months ago to be the project manager at Oak Hill. And we to be the project manager at Oak Hill Station. And we look forward to be a part of Oak Hill. The baseball concept seems to be high priority here. Dylan's talking about becoming a baseball or a coach or whatever. Maybe we can get a little involved and see if we can help out. Good. But if there's any questions, I'd be happy to help with them. I've done several of these projects over the last 30 years. They all turn out great. People are proud to own them.
Do you limit what they can store?
Yes. So everything is not only governed by your rules that any other business would have, they have to then follow our rules as an association. Just like if you lived in a residential association and you didn't want purple houses, your charter says no purple houses, you're not going to have purple houses. So we have rules and regulations. I've even talked to your code guy, Mike, I'm not sure how we title him at the moment. And I reminded him that anything going on in our facility, you come to our management and our association, and we nip it in the bud. You don't have to go to our individual tenants. Our rules are going to be much more stringent than yours, if you will. Like we don't allow any vehicles out after dark. We don't allow any vehicles that don't have fully licensed tax, tag, and title, or whatever they call it. Like I said, we want it to be a place when you drive by, it looks good. People can be happy to have their business there. I think it'll be a place you guys will be proud to just be able to call Oak Hill Station one of your first parks.
Question, as far as the businesses that either rent or buy the facilities in there, what would be your ability to limit and inspect if they have some sort of hazards in their buildings? That
same as yours and beyond. So you as the town, the city, the code, all that still applies. We don't have any protection for anybody behind our walls, but they have to fall under our rules, and I submitted my documents to the city attorney or for whoever wanted to review it. They're standard stuff. Okay. They're not quite as onerous as, say, a residential development This is a commercial development, and it's just, it's basically you play nice with your neighbors. We do have the right to go in and take a look, just like you guys probably do. If your code enforcer thought there was something hazardous going on, I'm sure you have every right to do whatever you want. We have that same right and beyond. Our association has.
I just wondered if you had addressed that and what you were going to set up your rules and regulations for.
We'll use a standard. I don't want to call it a boilerplate so much, but I think maybe I've done a dozen of these, and each time I do one, I kind of get them a little bit better and figure out the problems. We don't normally have problems because these people own their units. Rare, the rentals come from when a guy says, yeah, I want to own my space, and hey, I'll rent the next one out, because the closer to your rental property you can be, the better off.
Right.
And that's kind of how that comes up. We've had several people that said, yeah, I'd like to buy one for me, and then one for a rental income.
Thank you.
I've got a question. A
Sure.
citizen sent this to the commissioners, and it basically reads that he's upset with the fact that the property located directly behind the Welcome to Oak Hill sign is going to be changed from commercial use to heavy industrial use.
Somebody's misinformed. That's B3 commercial zoning. I'm restricted. I have not asked I've not asked to break any one of your rules. I fit into the box. What I'm building there is less than is allowed. There's no setbacks I'm encroaching. I've not asked for any variances. I just simply come in and I said, hey, I can do this. The last guy who got approved with an industrial site fence operation, I guarantee you're going to like what I'm doing better. They're not a bad operation. I'm not picking on anybody, but we're not going to have a truck sitting outside at night. We're not going to have semis coming in and out. If we do, it's going to be a rarity, not a daily event.
Yeah, that was a question I had. You wouldn't have 17-wheelers, 18-wheelers coming and going.
No, for one, we are only coming and going from US 1. So
Right.
we're not bothering anybody on the side streets.
Right.
And, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's
So
fine.
an 18-wheeler could, in theory, get in and out. But boy, it's not something any one of them is going to want to do.
But he's not going to come off of aerial roads.
Oh, he can't.
Okay.
Oh, no. If you've looked at the silt fence, which is the first step, and Dennis said that it was allowed to put up.
Right.
The only entrance we have is a construction entrance off of aerial. We've completely sealed off Baywood. And then if you look at our drawing, as we pour the concrete and we come out, we close that entrance off. The only way in and out is US 1. And it's a simple, easy in, easy out type of setup. So that will, I would assume, control the traffic potential.
Yeah, it should be good.
Plus, we're spread out. It's not like a Boston whaler goes to work at 7 and leaves at 3. We got guys that are going to come at 8, 9, 3, 7, 4. Some guys might work at night. Some guys might, go fishing at 4 in the morning. It's going to be spread out.
Is there just two, I'm looking at this drawing here, and is there just 2 parking spots per unit on the smaller size
No,
ones?
if you look at the first page of our drawing, it has a parking required, parking provided. I required 61 spaces, I provided 92. I like to overkill so that if you've ever been in a cramped parking lot, this is not me. If you've ever been upset because you can't find a parking spot, not in my projects. I overdo, and they seem to go over quite well.
And they have, I guess I'm just wondering if the ordinance that you're referring to there with the 61 versus 92, is that?
No, it's not an ordinance, it's the count. It's a required count based on square footage and uses.
Right.
Am I saying
Yes,
something wrong?
yeah, no, that's
Okay.
correct. It's a parking requirement for, it's based on the square footage of the buildings and also of the lot. And then that changes by use.
And that's where in our, I don't know.
That's
why-
in the land development code, yeah. So it's required for all commercial facilities.
It's standard in every town, and it's to keep you from overloading the property. So when they say they want me to have 61 spaces, I believe is in the box, I have 92.
And that'll
give you an indication of what the project will be like.
I
There's
got
gonna
you.
be plenty of parking. And no cars are allowed to be there at night. I mean, there's no outside storage. These are simply to make your experience more enjoyable. I mean, nobody wants to be in a cramped little business park like that.
And those rules are incorporated in your HOA?
They are. So there are several documents I sent you. One is articles of incorporation. One is the bylaws. I believe I even went down and sent the rules and regulations. And they're basically kind of a copy of what most cities have. What I tell my buyers is, we force you to play nice with your neighbor. Sorry. But there's nothing onerous. There's nothing, we are restricted to do everything that you approve in your B3 zoning. Other than that, we have to come to you to ask. And I don't even know, let's just say that B3 zoning, if anybody were to call and ask what I could do, I refer them to the B3 zoning. Anything the town of Oak Hill will allow, we typically will allow. And we do have some things that we don't. And they're, crowded mechanic shops can't have, you're not going to see any of that because our rules are you don't leave a car out, you have your limited spaces. I had a guy call me on car lots every now and then. And, I just tell him that I don't think you're going to be able to operate a car mechanic shop, unless you're a boutique guy doing a real, you got a couple cars a month and you do a nice job. Sure, just like a custom motorcycle shop. We welcome them. We're Daytona. We're close enough to Daytona to welcome motorcycles. I drive a Harley. I love it. So I wouldn't rule out anybody, but I would tell you that they've got to pass your muster first, and then ours is potentially more stringent. If they can't get through you, they can't even get to us.
And did I hear you correctly saying that this entire lot here will be fenced in?
No, it's not required. We're not required to have any fence. What I've done is a decorative fence that will match, kind of like my sign. It's going to be a pylon type post with the big 2-inch rope that goes around it. It's just strictly decorative. Nothing is required. The previous approved site had, I believe, barbed wire chain link, or at least chain link. This is going to be so much more attractive. I mean, the buildings are good looking in themselves. The landscaping, which is up to code, in addition, I think they asked for a few things, and we quickly gave them anything they wanted, curving or everything else. It's like, hey, these things cost money, but we're building a nice facility, something that the other people that come after us will, have to follow, or at least, want to look at and aspire to be at least as good as us.
I got this email, I think you got the same one from Terry Brown.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And she's concerned about the fence, and she had expressed a desire to have a fence between the backside. I guess I'm not exactly sure where she lives, but I think it's right off of Bayless.
She's on the back half of the property, so there's another parcel of mine that's attached and does come into play with her property. So if we do anything in the back there, or when we do, if you wish, we would get with her and try to figure out, whatever makes sense. There are buffers designed in your code that protect residential people. So there's really not a big concern, Terry. I understand individual concern.
I want to voice some
can.
concern that I have in a minute.
Oh,
because we're
that's
not-
you.
Yeah,
Oh, hi.
Can I just make a statement quickly on
Yes.
on the west, the piece of the parcel on the west side, there's no, when this originally came before the planning board in the original application, there was some sort of plan, and again, I wasn't here then, there was a plan to perhaps develop that, which was dropped subsequently. So after the prior approvals, they actually expired. So any plan to develop or make any kind of modifications to the western side parcel would require to go back through the entire process. So there would require to be a new application, site plan, would be a new site plan then, and that would have to go back through planning board and back through you as well. So that's a note on that. Also, just to follow up on the other comment that was submitted,
if there was any proposed industrial adjacent use, there's another formal process. You would have to apply for a rezoning in order to do that. That did not occur at any time going back to at least when this application started under different owner in 2019. And then the third thing is the outdoor storage was a part of the application that actually expired. That requires a special exception that was approved to do that, but because it was never acted upon and there's a time limit on that, that expired. So you would also have to come back in order to do any kind of outdoor storage on this site.
So
Don't go away.
Yeah, go ahead.
So are you telling, you're saying here, I'm just trying to make sure that I understand exactly what you're saying, because my concern is with her concerns. Because, I think it's my job to take care of constituents' concerns when they send me emails like this. And so how can we get some kind of an assurance for her that the fence that she desires between her property and this thing is going to happen? Because if we just let it go like this, that's just all goodwill, and you know how that goes.
Yeah. Can we speak to the location? Is this part, I'm sorry, I'm not familiar exactly where the adjacent property is.
So the parcel has a canal separating it. And it's got 30-foot trees acting as a fence. You can't see her property or any part of it from what we're doing today. What happens in the future, nobody knows. Your charter, your codes protect her. You have buffer zones, you have requirements, you have plenty of things. If I come back and I ask for something special, then that's something different as well. I'm actually known as quite a nice developer and I do things, but I don't think now is the time to be discussing this parcel that is not part of the project. It's only was added because I'm forced to keep that parcel as one because of St. John's water management permit. So I cannot separate my original plan. We didn't find a safe answer, and that's still my plan. And there are several that I'm dealing with that will be very quiet and will be individual warehousing. I talked to a gentleman, I'm talking to people all the time. I have no idea what's going to go back there. So if anybody else in here owns property in the city and wants to stand up and restrict their property, when I bought a property that's conforming and I'm doing everything you want, I'd be happy to play nice, I always do, but I don't think this is the time.
Just to clarify, the site plan is for the entire parcel because it's considered one parcel.
Right. That's this thing.
Right, that's what that is.
So I have
it's
a
going to
little.
show the entire site.
I'm not seeing the, because I know that behind the taller buildings, there was that the ones that are already there, there's like a big retention pond. Is that the ditch that you're talking about?
No, there's, so that is St. John's Water Management retention area that was put in. But so by the way, I've only owned this property 6 months. The mess and all that, I drove, I really think I'm improving the situation, not detrimental to anybody. But let's stay with the question at hand. The retention, beyond the retention is a canal. That is a mosquito ditch.
Yes.
Sorry? Mosquito control. So if we don't touch that, we don't have anything to do with that. The parcels in the back is wetlands. I mean, there's not a lot going to go back there to begin with. So what happens back there? I can tell you that I'm not sure what else you would like me to say.
Well, I'm trying to get a handle on.
I've talked with Terry. I've tried to talk with her a couple of times, and we can continue conversations. But again, I would ask you, Joe, if you own a piece of property and I ask you not to do something with it for no reason, you probably would want to talk about it. Now, making her place, less restrictive or less impacted, you guys have that in your charter. You have a 30-foot buffer between any residential space. So 30 foot is an awful lot of space. A developer probably comes back and asks for a variance to encroach and get closer. Now, I can tell you this, I don't plan to do that. And I don't plan to do that. And Joe, you'll be here at that time, I'm guessing. And that's the time we can negotiate. If I want something, I'll give something. If I can be nice and it's not hurting me, boy, I'll do that. I've done most of you Oak Hill residents would do that for your neighbor, same way. But again, I ask you, give me something on your property without any thing, and let's just say I'd like to talk about it in the right venue, not be stood up here and be asked to do something on a piece of property I bought and paid for, and read your charter and did what it says I'm supposed to do, and did less. And I've been playing good with the neighbors. I've talked with Chris, I'm sorry what his last name is. He had some concerns. I tried talking with Terry. We've had a few conversations. We haven't quite really finished them. She has some help with the guy helping her. All I know is that I moved to Edgewater. I walked my dog into River Breeze Park, and I passed this pile of dirt for 2 years, and I thought, what a mess. So I'm here to help.
I have a question. Let's move back.
Okay.
The original owner came to us and he was going to put up a fence, and we discussed with him an 8-foot fence. Well, our ordinance says 6 foot.
Okay.
So he agreed to put up a berm and necessary plants, and it would be a solid fence.
Yes, and you know why? Because he was hiding the industrial work that he was doing with no buffer. We have done it. We have landscape, we have curbing, we have lighting. We are a pretty, I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt you. Go ahead.
And you're going to rent these out.
Sell them.
Or sell them, and these individuals are going to want to put business signs on their buildings.
They're going to want to put business signs up for your codes of your town, whatever that is. I have a marquee sign plan. I have a sign above.
So the fence that you propose is going to be open.
Fence that I propose is decorative, and it's not required. There's no fence required. Now, if you want me to put a fence up to make it look pretty, I think I'm doing that for you, sir. I'm not here to tell you, I added that as an expense that doesn't need to be there. My engineer even said, why you put that on there? I said, because it looks better. Otherwise, it just looks better.
Your engineer doesn't live in Oak Hill.
Well, Oak Hill is limited to not a lot of residents, sir. And the engineering firms in town, I have not found many, sir.
The discussion with the prior developer. This commission agreed, and he agreed to put up a solid fence.
But that never happened. Oh, sorry.
If you drive down US 1, you'll notice that there is a boat storage, trailer storage, 6-foot solid fence. The individual that sells the small, I call them trailers.
Sheds.
Yep. He put up a solid block.
He's hiding his crap.
He's cleaning up US 1 is what he's doing. And that's what the other gentleman did at our request.
And I'd be happy to help you if that's what you think is in the best interest. And you want me to put a fence up there.
Solid fence.
You're going to put a solid fence along it. Done. I think it's the, no. Hold on, I'm sorry, wait, hold on, back up.
Here's the thing.
Sorry.
I don't mind a chain link fence on the back of your property at all.
Okay.
Or whatever kind of fence you want to put up.
I don't want to put any fence up.
I know
They're ugly.
you don't.
I'm not blocking anything. And I'm sorry, but I got a question. It's not required, so you're asking me to put this fence up there because, and again, look, I'm going to give you what you want because I want what I want. But I'll leave it at that. I've given you a drawing that meets your requirements by all accounts. I'm more than happy to sit here and make the town happy because I got to live with you. You don't have to live with me.
This is only my opinion. There's 3 others.
I got you. Okay.
But that's my opinion, based on previous developer.
Okay. So the previous developer is no longer here.
That's right, you are.
Yes. And the previous development is no longer here. It's totally gone out the window. And the new development we have built to your specifications that the town charter told me to do. I went out and I even added some additional decorative fencing because I thought it would look good. Now, if you want to put a compound fence around my pretty project, I think it's going to look terrible, so I might have to discuss it, but.
Pretty is a word that to each his own.
But
This
these are
word's
not,
pretty.
but the fences are up hiding outside storage. That's what your ordinance provides for. And that's why I decided I don't want it, because I don't like that. Now, that's my opinion. And there are several, and not everybody has to agree. And I certainly am not here to fight with you, I promise you. But I am telling you that my opinion is I built you a really quality project you're gonna be proud of. I built it to your standards, in your town, at your rules. I would like you to approve me as the staff says that we are, they've approved as we have written. I think I deserve to be approved as we are. If you would like to have a conversation about different things that you think will help me make my project look better for our city, I mean, I'll come sit with you any day you want.
We do it
But
right. We do it right here
That's
in
fine.
front of all these
Okay.
people.
So
because they're the ones
okay,
that we represent, not you. We'll work with you, but we need to have an understanding.
And what is that?
Terry Brown wrote this lengthy letter.
Lovely.
And she's totally opposed to the drawings and the plans.
Okay.
Until the revisions to the plans, and I'm reading, have been made for light industrial and brought back in for public approval. See page 11 through 17 in the document Oak Hill Station. PDF attached to this email. This plan, if built, will infringe on the beauty and quiet refuge that my property had when I purchased it in 2022. She's adamantly opposed. She feels that the plan destroys the natural wildlife wetlands adjacent to her property. Please ensure that this newly approved industrial property adheres to the municipal building code. So that's a question for the planner. Following required environmental protection for wildlife, wetlands, state of Florida and Volusia County. You know, nobody's against what you're trying to do. But the property owner is concerned about that 5 or 6 acres west of the ditch. And if the planner says that you're not going to do anything with that, and you agree to it, then you'll have to come back to us to do anything to it. Is that
That's
the
correct.
process?
Yes.
He has to come
I have to
back.
come back now.
He has to come back whether he
You're gonna
agrees or
re-
not.
You're
Let me say a couple
Yeah.
things to help you out a little
Thank
bit.
you.
Yes. Thanks, Scott.
Possibly what happened in other ones, because they were outside source. Understand, this property had a special exception. When a special exception is approved, the commission has the discretion to impose conditions on a special exception to address issues about the special exception. The special exception was for outside storage. There's no special exception here. This is not a PUD. There is no negotiation. Sorry.
Thank you.
What you do is you take the plans and you take our rules and you apply them. Do they or don't they meet the rules? I have not looked at the plans or the rules. That's not my job.
That's our job.
And you had my generosity. and
But
you'll
I'm
be
just
fine.
saying, my question would be, if you're gonna say, no, we're not gonna approve these plans because you did not build this solid wall, the question is, does there substantial competent evidence to support that our code requires this wall? If it doesn't, then this isn't a negotiated item. This is why most cities do not bring site plans here to their public commission, because it's very technical.
Yeah.
You have a set of rules, and they apply them, and do they meet? Because all of a sudden you get into this discussion that really starts bordering on things that honestly you really shouldn't be doing. You don't negotiate site plans. You adopt a set of rules. If the rules aren't what you want, they're your rules. Change them. Come up with new fence requirements or whatever. But think about the equity. You publish a set of rules and you say, what I read, it says B1. I don't see B3. B1?
It's B1.
B1.
So he's allowed to do whatever's in B1. That's what he's allowed to do. Y'all decide what's allowed in B1. So you've already done that. So he's allowed to do that. If he can't do if he wants to do something other than what's in B1, he has to come back for a rezoning. If it has to be a rezoning, probably might require a comp plan change. If it requires a comp plan change, you have substantial discretion to say no. If he has to do a plan development, then you can sit down and say, okay, you want these things, what are you going to give us in return? That's the negotiation part. You can do that with a PUD. But with a straight zoning, you can't do that. That's very hard to do. And so now, a lot of times what the reality is, developers will give in as opposed to suing the city and challenging it. They'll give in to some request just so they can get it passed and they don't have to go through litigation. But are you telling me this is legal? Do you have a good legal basis for demanding things that our code doesn't say? No, you don't. You don't have a good legal basis for it. And you need to point to evidence to say, our code says this, you presented this, that's why we're denying your claim. And probably why everything you listed that has solid walls, every one of those things have outside storage. And that would mean every one of them needed a special exception. And the code does give you the ability with a special exception to say, these are the conditions by which we're granting the special exception. Which could be, you want outside storage, we want a solid wall.
Thank you.
Those are the conditions. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear.
Mr. Planner?
Yeah.
Does he meet all the city requirements?
Yes.
Terry Brown, do you wish to speak?
Yes,
You
I
will need to
do.
come up to the podium, please state your name and your address.
We'll be glad to. Hello, city council members and my other neighbors. My name is Terry Brown. I live at 150 Baywood Drive, Oak Hill. And I was at a meeting in March, and this is where the term industrial keeps coming up for me. The planning committee agreed that they voted this property could be rezoned industrial. And I've read the plans. I'm also an engineer, and I'm used to reading plans. The plans clearly say commercial, and that's what they're written to. So that was one of the issues I was bringing to your attention, because I went to a meeting, they voted it industrial. So I'm not understanding the disconnect.
Well, I wasn't there at the meeting. My understanding is there is no application to rezone.
Okay,
So the
so
zoning
that was
right now.
removed because that was never published. I'm going off
I don't
of
think there was.
information
Did
that
you
I
ever submit an
received.
application for rezone? There's never been an application to rezone.
I go the path of least resistance,
So-
follow the rules.
Well, and you were there when they rezoned it, and the big deal was, let's go industrial, and
Well, first of all, the
it wasn't
planning
this
board,
group here, it was the planning board.
and they can't do anything.
Well,
They can recommend. They don't make
okay.
a decision. They can make but there was no application to rezone. And there's no agenda item here to rezone. It is just to approve amendment to the site plan. So from a zoning perspective, the only uses that are allowed, the current zoning is B1.
So it's still zone B1, that
Still
is
be
not
zone B1.
changed.
That has not changed. So you have to look at the uses that are B1.
That is fine then, because that is very confusing for just a normal person. I was there with a lot of other people, and we heard them say, yes, let's rezone it to industrial, and it was carried. Well, when I looked, the plans, of course, do not meet industrial. Industrial says you have to stay 30 feet off my property line.
It's not, it's zone B1.
Okay. Okay, my other concern is, I know you keep telling me that you're not going to build on that back half of the property.
I never said that.
See, that's where he comes within 5 feet of like 15, my house is 15 feet from my property line. He will be 5 feet from there, that's 20 feet from my house. So you understand now why I think he's gonna destroy my beautiful property that I have grown to love in a very short amount of time. And my nice, I can't see having industrial, commercial, anything right there on my doorstep. That concerns me. That's that second plan. Now, as long as that's not part of this current offering and we're gonna vote on it again, then I'll be back to talk with you about it at that point.
All that's being approved is the site plan that's submitted.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, I don't get the copy of it, which, you know, that would be nice if I could have got a copy. I asked for one. I called today. I would have loved to have seen what the changes were, and I have not been able to get a hold of your current plan. All I've got is what is on your internet site and what I've gotten off of the internet. And the one on your current internet site shows you building condos or whatever right up to my doorstep. That's my concern. And it will be my concern until I'm dead.
It's not condos.
Okay, this is not to
This is
go out to
Davis
the
right
station. This is not what
I
is
think your
planned
house is somewhere in here.
She was behind me.
on your website is condos, all through here, right up to my doorstep. I live right here.
This is the one that the planning board recommended approval on.
This is on the other side.
It's the mayor.
It would be nice if they actually published it somewhere where someone else, like a homeowner, could get a copy and know what was going on.
Conversations.
Because all I hear is plan, and all I've seen is what is on the website. So obviously, I think that you're going to build right on top of me. Not today. In your future, which we will have to discuss.
Call me in the morning.
Okay. That was my concern, and I've had my say. I'm not the only one concerned, but it's right on top of my house.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Charlie Dean, 157 East Halifax, Oak Hill. I just have a couple of questions. Number one, I found out that it's not industrial in this meeting, but there are no outside storage. And you said that there was going to be maybe mechanic shops?
No, they're not my preference, yeah.
But you didn't say they wasn't, that you just said that's not my preference.
The town allows mechanic shops, yes.
Okay. Now, is it going to look like Park Avenue and Edgewater?
Zero chance.
If there are cars left outside, that's storage.
And I love you left outside.
There's no outside
We
storage.
have,
in
we
Deep-
have,
without a special
we have
exception.
restrictions on that, sir.
That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
If there are cars left outside, that's outside storage.
That's why I'm fighting for the fence to not be there, so you can see how pretty this place is when you go by. All right, it's.
Okay, can I ask you this?
Sure.
Can I have your address? Because I'll tell you what.
106 Carlson Cove, I said it when I stood up.
Because if there are cars left outside there, I'm not going there.
Tow company signs will be on the property.
Okay, I'll come to your house.
Oh, God, you come.
Okay, I'm just coming to your house.
Come on over.
Okay?
Mark May, by the way.
I'm Charlie Dean.
Charlie, nice to meet you.
I'm taking you for your word.
Come see me.
Okay, you take me for mine.
I'm gonna look you in the eye.
I'll look you in your hand. I'll look you in the eye.
I'll do what I say.
Okay, I don't mind that. I don't mind that.
I will do what I say, my friend.
Thank you, Charlie.
My
Thank
neighbor.
you.
And guys, I just want to say, we're not here to hurt Oak Hill. Oak Hill is ready. Your houses are coming, everything's happening, and these businesses need a place to go. That's all this is. So as a contractor, I couldn't find a place where I could put my business, I could put my secretary, maybe store some equipment. And this is it. Edgewater is running out of it. New Smyrna has none. Oak Hill. I mean, I would hope that you guys would have loved this. And Joe, just so you know, I'll take care of Terry. I've tried to talk with her, and I'll talk again in the future. I have no intention. Now, my property, when I bought it, just like when she bought hers, was still zoned exactly the way they are. Mine's commercial, hers is residential. Ruining her property doesn't mean no good. There's only so much square footage I can put in that back lot. There's wetlands, there's this, there's that. There's all kinds of things I could do. kind of wish it was approached a little bit differently, but we'll get over that. I'll turn the page and say, come see me. I'm in those buildings, doing my thing a lot. And as far as the back there, my goal is to have one, and I got a couple prospective tenants or buyers that'll just take that one whole spot. And it will just be non-industrial. I can't tell you who I'm talking to, but let's just say you'd be super happy, okay? And I can't restrict my property that I bought in clear conscience. I am a developer, it's all I've done my whole life, and I understand the rules, but I still would do something nice to make the place look better, if that's the opinion of the town. Now, if one gentleman thinks he likes the fence, that's great, and I'm not picking on you, I promise you. And the other guy said, no, do what you think, because honestly, this is what I do. Okay, and I'm building it so that people will buy it. So I can't build an ugly, crappy place. You don't put 6-inch fiber mesh concrete everywhere. You put asphalt and you save money, and then you have potholes. No, we're not gonna have potholes. This is gonna be a place you'll be proud to own, you'll be proud to have the town grow, and you'll be happy to see how I take care of the neighbors around me.
I have a question. I can.
Carrie,
I can't ask them?
you can. Come to the podium. Thank you.
You prefer me out of the way or sit down?
Whatever.
I'll stand over here.
They can hear me anyway.
This way I can see you. Okay.
Okay. My question is, you're looking at selling some of these metal buildings and some of these units.
Okay, the goal is to sell them all, make individual owners out of each property.
Okay.
Private ownership.
Who is going to maintain the property?
The POA, Property Owners Association, and we have a land, so first off, it'll be a manager, not necessarily on site, but just depending. A lot of times these are self-managed by one of the owners that own 3 or 4 units. Or we hire a management company, which happens in some of our developments. And they handle everything. They send out the dues, they pay the landscaper. If the sprinklers aren't working, they're on site fixing it, so the people that own the units don't.
So you basically have an HOA
It's an
agreement
HOA.
of some sort that
Correct.
basically is for corporate purposes.
Correct.
And they are who will maintain the property so that it doesn't become a rundown.
Well, that's
Junkyard.
who the city can look to say, hey, you're
Just
not
go to
maintaining
us.
the property, we're gonna cite you for code violations and cite the
Yeah,
HOA.
if we can get code.
I heard you're here from a POA, right, or an HOA? Were you doing, question about that? Oh, somebody else.
No.
We are,
I live in, across the street,
okay, so,
not
yes,
technically in Indian Harbor, but basically across.
so that's all the same thing. We're governed by a homeowner or property owners association.
Okay.
And
My
everybody-
concern was who's going to maintain and,
Professionals.
okay,
Nobody's got-
keep the property so it looks decent.
We won't allow anybody to cut their portion of our grass. How's that? One
And
professional landscaper.
do you have any kind of like an architectural drawing of what the
So
plan is?
when I bought the property, I've got the drawings of the buildings. It's the exact same buildings. So
I know what the buildings are, yeah.
That's pretty much it until you get to US 1. And US 1, we don't really have a frontage retail presence in Oak Hill yet, but it will. So I would assume maybe those in the future, maybe we do a little something more artistic. Right now, I'm trying to leave it up to what we have with the mix of tenants that come in. And we quite frankly, we go to meet the requirements, hit all the required items, and then when we come back in, this doesn't allow us to build a thing. We have to come back with drawings specific to everything we want to do and ask for the right to do that. This just gives us the right to ask for the permit. That's a very preliminary step. This doesn't really give us.
That was my question.
Okay.
I still have one.
Thank you.
I just wanted to say, first off, that I never asked for a fence all the way around the thing. I'm just more concerned about her.
Okay, so I've got
And,
some better plans than that. I'd like to address them.
But let me just go ahead and finish.
Okay.
That way you'll be more, understand what my concerns are before you respond. But what I'm getting at is that, so I don't necessarily think that the mayor's way off base on that, but my concern is that, for the citizens that are going to be affected by this, and I don't see, I see that in other communities, like Edgewater, for instance, it's not unusual for the commission, I guess that's what they call them in Edgewater, but to ask for certain things to protect their citizens from, and whether it's legal, or not, I don't think that, the relationship between the commission and your operation should really be based on that as much as it should be on goodwill and understanding our need to protect our citizens because.
And your attorney is here to protect you.
Yeah.
So and all I will tell you is that I'm here because I conform. I'm asking you to do a site
Right, we
plan.
get that.
I'm asking
We get
for us-
that. You already said that lots of times.
Not lots.
I heard it the first time.
I won't say it
But
again.
I'm still concerned about her and would like to get some kind of a yes or no, not maybe.
I have a better plan, Joe, that will be better for her. I don't think this is the place for it, and I don't want.
Well, it should be
Joe, let me
because
explain this to you. He's not proposing to develop the land next to her.
Correct.
That's not even on the table.
The drawing that's in front of me, Scott. And so why wouldn't I take this drawing seriously?
It doesn't show the development.
That's, you have to look at the surrounding property. So right now, the issue, just from a planning, like best practices standpoint, if the proposal, you're to the west of the entirety of the lot. So if the west side of this lot for site plan amendment at this point was proposed to being developed, there would be a setback requirement and a landscaping and fencing buffering requirement. Because there's, on that west side of the ditch, there's no proposed improvements being made, it's to remain vacant right now. That's actually more than the buffer would be required if there was. So if in the future, there's another site plan amendment that comes before you that proposes the development on that west side of the ditch, that's when these questions would be most pertinent from a planning standpoint. Because then you would have development that abuts the neighboring residential zone properties.
And the issue that I stated was that, I'll stand up again, Terry Brown, and I'm climbing over, but I will. The issue I stated was that the plans I had seen showed development directly next to my house. And that's where my issues started.
That's what I see
And
here.
that's my problem. And I just wanna make sure that what gets approved is the site plan that does not have development next to my property. I need that assurance instead of a verbal. Verbals are nice, but I'm from Missouri and I'm a shovel state. So put it on paper, sign it, seal it, stamp it. I'm good. That's all. That's very simple for me. I believe what I see in black and white on paper. I don't do vague, I don't do abstract. I'm looking for a plan that actually shows me what you're saying, everything I'm saying. I know. Yeah, well, I know, see what I saw on his website, is an error. I know, but that did not, that was accessible to me. Okay. That's nice.
There is no development proposed.
Yes.
Because he hasn't proposed development yet. Now, what can the city do between today?
I wanted to see
Point of order.
that
Let's get
they
back
were going to
on.
be approving a plan, the one that y'all had in your pocket.
Excuse me.
When I've not had access.
Excuse
That's all.
me.
She lives
Please
over
have a
here,
seat.
not over here.
Oh, that makes a big difference.
Point of order, site plan amendment. Need a motion
I'll make that motion.
to,
Second it.
Approve this way, yeah.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the commission?
I would like to ask Ms. I'm sorry, Thompson. So if this is built, if this is built the way that this drawing that I got from your PDF that you sent, I think my confusion was that I was doing one of these things when I was driving and not, but I see that there is nothing on this side between you and Vela, or this road here.
Yes.
between,
Yes,
and
that's
that looks
the
like a
one
pretty
that
good
wasn't
distance right
That's
there.
fine. That's the one that wasn't published on the oakhillstation.com website that's accessible to everyone.
The-
And I would expect if he was, that his real plan would be there, because then that would have solved a lot of problems.
And if you're,
Anxiousness.
if this is correct, and there is a good amount of space that's not going to be developed for whatever period of time, and if he does have to do that, like everything that he's saying seems to be true, that he's going to have to come back to the commission. So
Yeah, he has to come
if
back.
that's good,
That's fine.
then I don't see any reason why I shouldn't vote for this.
That's the plan that you're approving that didn't look like it, and I was not able to see that until tonight.
Okay, so we're good.
Yes.
Okay.
Anything else? We have a motion and a second. Call for the vote.
Mayor Gibson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Linville.
Yes.
Commissioner Catagano.
Yes.
Commissioner Hyatt.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mayor, if I could say one thing? Now, what can be done between tonight and down the road? As I said, you have the ability to change the rules. What you know, you don't change rules for one person, you change the
Rules for everybody.
across the
Yep.
board. It's similar situation. I would suggest you look at our regulations regarding buffering and setbacks when you have incompatible adjacent uses, which would be commercial next to residential. It's very common that when you have these incompatible uses, you have increased buffers and setbacks. And so you can look at those and you can consider changing our rules. That would apply not just in this particular situation, but other
But
similar
others.
situations where you
Yeah.
have commercial next to residential, to say our buffers and setbacks are not adequate to protect the residential. And so if that is in place when he files, he's not governed by the rules today for his new development, he's governed by the rules that are in place at the time he files. So you can change your rules and address the incompatibility, which having commercial next to residential is incompatible, and various cities have different ways of addressing that additional protection, but there is certainly an increased buffer setback requirement in most, if not all cities, when you have incompatible uses abutting each other. Very common. So that's what really should be done between now and pretty soon, because I don't know when he's coming back. But he's governed by the rules at the time he submits his application. If you don't change anything, then what you'll be looking at is the same rules that we have today when he now goes to propose a plan to develop adjacent to her property. We have those rules in place. That's where your representation to the public is to say, hey, if you come and do this, you can build here. That's why we adopt rules. It's different because with a special exception, like I said, we say, if you want this special exception, we're gonna put conditions on it to make sure they're protected. That's probably why you had solid fences and higher fences, because everybody had a special exception along there for outside storage. Or when you go and say, we're gonna have a PUD agreement. Everybody knows when you have a PUD and you start asking for relief for certain things, the city may ask for other things. It can be a give and take in issues. Those are common, but when you have straight zoning, which I'm talking about here, you just say, okay, look at the application and look at the rules. It either complies or it doesn't. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
And if you don't like the rules, it's within your purview to change them.
Mr. Mayor, just one thing, I don't know if the city considers a program called CEPTED, Crime Prevention Through Environmental Design. Has anybody worked with that? Any developer? This has been in existence about 30 years now in the security and design industry. And what a fence is for is one of two things, either to keep people out and in or to hide something. So if you're asking him to put up, I don't know this gentleman, I'm new. If you're asking him to put up a 6-foot fence like we did over at the boat storage area, because I have a boat in there, that was for our protection. It wasn't for decorative. And if he's gonna put in a rope fence, it's not considered a fence technically, it's considered a decorative barrier.
Thank you. Okay. Let's move on to old business.
Thank you.
Contract for
Sorry.
VIA hall cleaning.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, this is the contract for the cleaning of the BIA Hall. Just bringing it again for formal approval by the commission.
Jerome, did we get any better explanation or description of what deep cleaning and routine cleaning is?
No, we did not.
Okay. That would be my only comment to Jerome. What is deep cleaning and what is routine cleaning? And if it's sufficient for everybody to understand, it covers everything that you expect, then that's fine.
I checked with the Department of Insurance, and their insurance carrier is admitted to do business in the state of Florida. That was my only concern.
It says here in the janitorial agreement, a deep cleaning shall include the following at a minimum: more in-depth and thorough cleaning, and includes cleaning the windows, inside and out. Routine cleaning shall be cleaning the floors, bathrooms, and dusting. That's what it says.
I know what. I sent an email to Jerome. I said, look, if you have an idea of what she wants the cleaning service to do, and is that adequately describe what you want them to do? Because what's going to happen is, well, not going to happen. What could happen is, we said, look, you didn't do X, Y, or Z. And she said, well, that's not included in X, Y, or Z. So I just want to make sure we list everything that we expect to be included in routine and deep that we would want to expect her to do. And if everybody's happy, then I'm happy. 'Cause
My only concern is about the cases and things that are in there. Suppose they cause damage to things that are in there while they're cleaning. They have insurance?
They have an insurance policy.
Okay.
$300,000.
They'll be
For how
real,
much?
they'll be real careful.
Just, those cases are too big and too heavy that anybody can move them. I'm sorry, can't. So, the wipe down is all that we would be asking for them to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because those cases are so large, it takes
Yeah.
2 to 3 people to lift the lid off. So that's not what we'd be asking to do, it's just the wipe downs.
So what would you expect routine cleaning to include?
The floors and the dusting and,
Wipe down cases?
yes,
What else?
bathrooms.
Clean toilets?
I would hope so, yes,
Clean sinks?
yes.
Some things of that.
Yeah. And I thought she did send an explanation, so
You
I
just
thought.
read
Okay. Well, I kind of thought it was a little bit more than that, but, so I know there was concern about the windows. The windows are hard to get to and they're extremely tall, so that is one thing that right now I don't think has been touched in a long time. Yeah.
That was the deep cleaning part of it, yeah.
And then the other would be the walls. The floors are real hardwood,
Sweep the floors, vacuum the floors?
Yes.
Sweep?
and then vacuum the other hardwood.
Yeah, it needs both.
Does deep cleaning include mopping or anything like that?
I would think that would be in just the regular cleaning.
Mopping?
Yeah.
Mopping the floors? Am I taking it?
Yeah. Do I need to give you all that?
hardwood floors? I don't know.
You want that or? Okay. I'm not
It might be,
sure.
it might help at the end.
Unless of what I'm asking for in there, I'm okay.
You can, you can wax it, yeah.
You're gonna be the person to say, hey, Jerome, this isn't clean, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and you're the person
I'm the
that
one
needs to say,
asking for help, yeah.
you're the one who needs to say, this is what we expect to be done.
Okay.
And then Jerome can make sure that we're all on the same page when we need it in mind, so that's what we're
Checklist.
trying to go.
We need a motion.
No problem.
Need a
So this is
motion to
good like
approve?
it is, Scott? No?
No.
She's
She
gonna
just,
send a list of descriptions.
I think we need to
of,
table
deep
it.
cleaning and routine cleaning of what she's looking for.
And why
And then
the
that will
table?
be included in Jerome, will get with it, and try to reach an
Because of
agreement
the
on the
discrepancy
definition
of
of
what's gonna
deep
get
cleaning and
cleaned.
routine cleaning. So if y'all want to approve it, just say that it's approved subject to the city and the company reaching an agreement on deep cleaning and routine cleaning descriptions.
Okay.
So say that.
Go ahead and field that one, Bill.
You can just say what I
Deputy
said.
Clerk, would you read the motion?
Motion to approve the janitorial contract subject to the city and the company coming to a mutually agreeable description of deep cleaning and routine cleaning services.
That's what we said.
Yeah, just like that.
I second it.
We have a motion, have a second. Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Commissioner Hyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Catagano.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Linlaw.
Yes.
Mayor Gibson.
Yes. 591 Cherokee Boulevard, update on HOA fees. Mr. Adams.
You want me to help with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Scott Simpson, City Attorney. Did you provide them a copy of the email I sent to you, Jerome, about the dollar change?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
The reduction?
There was a reduction.
Yes.
And I do not know exactly how they calculated the reduction. I tried to look at it to make some rhyme or reason because they added in all the years of assessments and they took out dollars. So what I did is the best I could do is just go back and say, kind of calculate, it looks like this assessment was this high for this long, this high for this long. And I just kind of went through what the assessments were. And I suggested Jerome, I said, have somebody double check this, maybe Zach in finance or something like that. Just look at it to make sure. Based on my math, at a minimum, I don't want to come out and actually say what I found, but it's a good deal based on my math. Now, if my math is wrong, then it may not be a good deal. But if my math is right, then we owe at least the amount they're asking for. And my recommendation would be pay it, so we get off this interest stuff and just start paying monthly till we sell it. So we get away from interest and late fees and all that stuff.
Well, I got you up there.
Yes, sir.
Should we auction it off after making the payment?
I would say if you don't have, typically, in my opinion, is auctions do not result in the highest price. But if you don't get, anybody willing to buy the lot through regular sale, then auction would be maybe the next option.
If this piece of property was on a paved road with the infrastructure in it, then I'd say hang on to it and sell it. It's on a dirt road, no access, no infrastructure,
Nothing.
and we're paying the same fees as the people on the river in their $400,000 homes.
Now, the thing that I haven't looked at is, I haven't gone back to see I have not looked at the HOA documents to see are they allowed to charge us the fee, since they have no infrastructure to us. I have not looked at the HOA.
Yeah, what are we paying for?
Yeah. And honestly, part of me would love to just give it back to the county. They're the ones who sent it to us.
Yeah,
I was like, take it back. We didn't ask for this. But the law required them to do what they did, and they'd probably end up turning around and just giving it back to us.
Yeah.
We could try to sell it. I don't know how valuable a piece of property is that you have no access to.
Till some infrastructure is put in place, nothing's going to.
Something's got to add value to it. So.
Could we not just deed it back to them?
We could deed it back to the county, but then they turn around and give it
No,
back
not
to
the
us.
county, deed it to Lighthouse Cove.
We could give it back to them too.
For what's owed?
They didn't accept that before. Well, we actually asked for a lot more than that before.
Yes.
Yeah, you could ask them, say, if you waive everything, we'll give you the deed back, which would be like selling it for $5,000.
Which is not a bad deal, actually, to get rid of this stupid
If it was really worth
property.
Then didn't you have a realtor say it was worth $30,000? If it was really worth $30,000, then you'd be better off selling it for $30,000, paying the commission, and paying them $5,000. The city would pocket money. I'm not paying you $30,000 for a lot. That lot.
Right.
See, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah.
It is, and it's kind of up to y'all how long. And I don't know if they would accept it. The person who helped us get this is who I would send the offer through.
Uh-huh.
I would not go to the first couple of rounds of letters we did. The person who helped us with this, which is he the developer of Lighthouse Cove? Is that who that was?
Mr. Warlick? Tom Warlick?
Is that who we met with?
Yeah.
And so I had communications with him about, he called me, it was interesting, he called me to talk about Lighthouse Cove and some changes he was proposing. And I said, well, why have you on the phone? Can we talk about something else? And so that worked out good. And he's thinking about doing something else with some of the land he owns over there, and all that will come back through the city, through y'all for approval if he submits the application. But I would submit any proposal back through him because he was able to facilitate where we got to. Because we didn't get anywhere dealing with the other people.
No.
Now, whether you want, however you want to do that, y'all can give your own direction, and that's kind of y'all's policy decision.
Ideas?
I think we should just see if they relieve us of having to pay the fees that we've accrued to now and just give them back the property.
Anybody up for reviewing the HOA agreement? To see if it's, they have to
I
pay?
don't think so.
We have to pay, or do you want to just bypass that?
Hate to have to pay them if we don't have to.
That's who we would be paying.
Yeah.
Well, we're paying him anyway.
I know you still love it.
Yeah.
It's been good having him tonight, though.
Yeah.
So you want to have the attorney review the HOA agreement?
The covenants and restrictions, and that which means we got to get them.
Yes.
We don't have to.
No.
So we have to make a request.
As a property owner, we should be able to have it.
We should.
Yeah.
Well, that would just put us up for actually knowing if we owed that money or not, right? I mean, that would be the outcome of that.
Yeah, to say. they have
Also,
to-
another roll of the dice.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but interest is running on what's owed.
Right.
So is that by consensus, Mr. Simpson, to ask and review?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that.
To do
Yeah.
that.
I won't spend a whole lot of time.
All in favor?
Thanks, God.
I'll let you know. I promise. All right, Jerome, can you make the request to the HOA? You say, can we have copies of the covenants and restrictions and get to me as soon as we can, because I don't want them to recalculate or take back
The offer.
Catch him before then.
No.
Because we probably have a monthly payment due right now.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, Waste Pro assessment to residents, Mr. Haddock. Update.
Mr. Mayor, at the last meeting I spoke about the presentation that James Moore had given, where they had identified some discrepancy as far as what we pay Waste Pro for their services as opposed to what we receive in assessments from residents. A name was brought to my attention by our deputy clerk, Mr. Ernest Peterson, who's a former Volusia County employee, and he is currently does consulting, for lack of a better term, for some other cities within Volusia County. And he is able to review their tax rolls, make sure information is correct. He's done some work on solid waste assessments to make sure that cities are receiving what they are supposed to be receiving. And it seems like it would be a good resource for us to be able to figure out why exists that discrepancy in terms of what we're receiving from our solid waste assessments. I believe I asked Mr. Peterson if he could be here today just to give us an idea of his services and for the commission to discuss, ask questions, and see if this is something they would like to entertain.
Okay.
Well, like you said, I've been doing this, I started 51 years ago for the Property Appraiser's Office, worked there 35 years, and one of my jobs when I was there was work on non-ad valorem. So after I retired, a couple of years, wanted to try and do something. So a lot of the cities asked if I would try and maintain their non-ad valorem database. And I have now 8 cities in Volusia County that I do that for. I sort of looked yours over. You have 1,052 accounts that you bill on the tax roll. And what I would do is start with that and see what has to be added. Also, what has to be taken off. You have a lot of mobile homes that could come on and off the property. So I would do that between now and when the tax bills are mailed. A lot of the cities, they use me year-round. There was recently a proposal to go an additional $25,000 on the homestead exemption. So I calculated at that cost each city. I also check your permits against the property appraisers database to make sure that every single CO is picked up. If you annex property, I make sure the annexed property gets into your millage group. So there's a lot of different things. I've worked with your attorney, with other cities.
I think that's definitely
Okay.
something we need to
It sounds like we
pursue.
need him.
Yeah.
I have a question for you, sir. How does this normally happen, like in a city where you didn't work for them? Like how would that be like something that the city itself did, or?
Yes, and it's mainly your larger cities. New Smyrna, Edgewater, Port Orange, they have staff that they do it, probably it's a full-time job for them.
Mhm.
You're a smaller city. A lot of the other cities I work with are smaller, and so they use me. I meet once a month with your city administrator. I'll go over with him what I plan on changing. Everything that I do, I'll transmit it with the property appraiser's office to have it added to the tax roll.
I do have
What do
a
you-
question, and not necessarily specifically for this, but we had talked previously about the county fire assessment fees are combined with our tax rolls, and it makes our tax rolls look like we're much higher than they actually are. And we had talked previously about removing that from our city tax base. Was that something that you might be able to help us with?
Well, you probably need to go to a consultant, a large consultant company that would do the study.
Okay.
Scott?
Yeah,
Were you with Lake Ellen when they started that
Yeah, I
one?
did, yeah, that's actually an issue we had in Lake Helen when I first started representing them.
Take over.
Because what happens is that you take, because of the way that fire village, the fire district is set up, you have to add that to the city's millage rate
Right.
for the 10 cap mill.
Right.
And when I got to Lake Helen, the fire district just raised their rate. And when you added it to the existing rate of Lake Helen, it was over 10 mils.
Right.
So they had to come up with, what are we gonna do? And we ended up withdrawing from the fire district, then turning around and contracting with the fire district to provide services, and this is semantics, but
Right.
it works.
Yeah.
And we fund that through a non-ad valorem assessment. And because it's a non-ad valorem assessment, it doesn't get added to the millage rate.
Okay.
And now, when you do that, we did, as indicated, we got a consultant to help us, because one of the big differences is with millage, with the fire district, it's based on the value of the property.
Right.
When you do an assessment, it's not based on the value of the property anymore. It's different. And what ended up happening in Lake Helen, they had a large mobile home park. And from an assessment standpoint, from a millage standpoint, mobile homes are cars. They don't get taxed.
Right.
So their millage was not very much. When we turned around and did an assessment, mobile homes are like matchboxes. So they have very high assessments as opposed to the millage rate. So it ended up being the same dollar amount.
Right.
That ultimately it was lower initially to help us get through the transition, but eventually the idea was the county would receive the same amount of money, but because instead of it being an assessment, a millage, it's an assessment, it's restructured on who's paying it.
Right.
And so you will have, if you have mobile homes parks here, they will be very upset with the outcome of that, because it's going to increase.
Right. Right.
And then also we had to address churches, not-for-profits, places that don't pay property taxes, right? Tax exempt entities, they have exempt property. Well, it's not exempt when you do an assessment. We have a dispute right now in Lake Helen with a private school. I don't know if it's a charter school, maybe, but they don't think they should have to pay an assessment. They didn't pay taxes either. So And that one's actually stormwater as opposed to fire, but
Yeah.
it's the same. You're just
Same
gonna
idea.
get into that kind of dispute, because you're gonna reallocate how that money is collected.
Mhm.
And so there are gonna be some people who pay less, there's gonna be some people who pay more. And that's what the consultant you need to retain will do that analysis for you. They go to the fire station, they get all their costs. It's things like, you can collect fire costs through an assessment, but you cannot collect EMS costs through an
Right.
assessment. I mean, there's
Yeah.
just things on that, so.
Okay, thanks. That was the only question I had.
You need a consensus or a vote?
I prefer a vote.
It's $500 a month, is that right?
Yes.
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 Need a motion?
I make a motion that we approve hiring Mr. Peterson on a contract basis at $500 a month for his services.
Second.
We have a second and a motion. Any further discussion? Call for the vote?
Mayor Gibson?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Linlaw?
Yes.
Commissioner Catagano?
Yes.
Commissioner Hyatt?
Yes.
Welcome aboard.
Be careful what you wish for.
One of my concerns on this is because of the $83,000 deficit, I'm going to call it. We have probably 20 homes that were built last year. When they get a CO, that garbage starts getting picked up and the city gets charged. I don't think it's $83,000 worth, but there's a lag time of when we get money.
Well, I have a formula that when the CO takes place, it will show you how much to collect at your CO until that house shows up on the tax roll.
Ah,
So if the house gets completed in February, that house will not be on November's tax bill because everything is appraised on January 1st. So what you have to do is take that time period plus the next year. So you're picking up garbage that you're not being paid for.
Cool. Like that.
thank you, sir. All right, let's move on to new business. Electric for the scoreboard at Mary Dewey's baseball field.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we received 3 quotes,
3 bids, yeah.
3 bids to do electric for the scoreboard at Mary Louise. The lowest came in at $4,586 from Harrison Electric. This is coming to you for approval or other action as desired.
Let me add something real quick on this, whichever one we pick. But Aaron and I reached out to FP&L. Aaron asked if they could do it for free. I said, can they donate? After a review by FP&L engineers, they couldn't do the work because they're so backed up. But they offered a $1,000 donation towards
nice.
the hookup. So we need to pick one of these proposals.
We know Merrick. Do we know the guy that's the low bid?
Yes,
We've used his work.
we have not, the city has not, but he does a lot of work in New Smyrna. He's Harrison Electric, right on Canal. He's been in business for many, many years, and he came in with the lowest bid due to the fact that my husband's company uses his company a lot, so he gave us a better deal. Merrick Services came in at $6,900,
Mhm.
and so did the other company, whereas Terry came in lower.
Make the motion, we go ahead and give it to him then.
Harris Electric
Harris
Services.
Electric Services, right.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Further discussion?
Yep. Ms. Perry?
I'm gonna pass this out to you, share it with you. Here's a spreadsheet of our Parks Department budget, what was spent in the first quarter and in the second quarter. I'll pass that on to you so you can take a quick look at it. I just had a conversation with Jerome about it. Our current Parks Department budget is at a negative $68,110.35. Where is the money coming from to pay an additional, what are we at? With the $1,000 in hand, $35.86. Where's the money coming from? We don't have any money left in parks. We've already overspent all of our Parks Department money. It needs to come from someplace else, but we need to know. That's the actual cost.
The $3,586 would come out of ARP money.
You're gonna take it out of ARPA now?
Yeah, why not?
Thought we had talked about that last time, that we were gonna use that for infrastructure
Carrie,
for drain
Carrie.
fields. Which I
Wait
agree.
a minute.
Okay.
I can pay the money,
Mhm.
but I had planned on doing the same thing for Nancy Cummings baseball. $4,008. Now, do you want
For what at Nancy Con, sorry.
the sign? I bought the sign.
Yeah, I know you bought the sign for Mary DeWeese.
And I can pay for this electric,
Mhm.
but I'd rather buy another sign. That's what my wife and I had budgeted.
Okay, and that's
So-
very nice of
so-
you to do, but.
So the money coming out of ARP is money we can spend.
Okay,
And it is for the benefit of the citizens.
well, and I will agree with you, taking the money out of ARP, especially for the ditch cleaning at Nancy Cummings, instead of that coming out of the Parks Department, I absolutely agree with you.
Well,
that
if no
should
money
come
in the
out.
Parks Department, it'd have to come out of ARP.
Well,
Yeah.
this report asks for it, but yes, I can see that money definitely coming out of ARP.
Yeah.
Do we have an updated figure on how much is left in ARP?
I can do some quick math for you.
Because we talked the other day, is why I'm asking, because you had said about the
Yeah, so
background
we
equipment.
spent, what's it, 65 on the purchase of the church.
Yep.
Right.
We will be spending 59 on the ball, on the playground. How much did we do for the Volusia Forever? I forget.
I don't remember off the top of my head either.
$27,000.
Yeah, that's right.
And we were at 980 or something like that, weren't we? 980,000, is that what the James Moore had said?
That's what James Moore figure
Yeah.
is, yeah.
Yeah.
But did we ever distinguish that we really had 900,000? Because it only shows 550,000 plus.
That's in a separate account. It's
Right.
not in the general fund.
So where's the 900,000?
General fund and the other account, according to James Moore.
In the ARP account, it is 463,000 and some change.
I got you.
In the general or in the ARPA?
In the ARPA.
ARC,
In the ARPA?
In the
Account.
ARPA.
General, in the ARPA
In the
bank
ARPA
account or in the ARPA general account?
The ARPA bank account.
Okay, so the ARPA bank account has how much?
400 and something.
450, doesn't have to be exact, Aaron.
462,000.
462?
Yes.
So I gotta ask one more question.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Is
and
that
would you
before
also
or after
include
the
in
money
that
that we
whatever
just talked
the
about?
money was actually used for?
That would be before.
Used for, yeah.
Before.
I mean,
So we're really in the
something we got more authority.
320, 350-ish in that particular account. If we take all of the money plus this, we would still have at least 300,000.
The 54,000, and then we subtract the 65 for the church, the 59 for the playground and the 27 for pollution permit, and that would leave that force.
So it's after.
Okay, so that's
I
taken
got
care
you.
of.
I got you.
Okay.
Okay, yeah.
Got that, Carrie?
So we are just calling for the vote now.
Church,
Yeah.
Volusia, and what was the third one?
The playground.
Playground, yeah.
Call for the vote?
Mayor Gibson,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Linlaw,
Yes.
Commissioner Catagano,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyatt.
Yes.
Okay, let's see. Got that. Boards and committees, economic development, Mike Arman?
There was
somebody in front of you.
ARPA.
Oh, ARPA, proposed scope let O from James.
Yes, Mr. Mayor Commissioner. So this again was something that came up during the presentation from James Moore. There are reporting requirements for the ARPA funds. And he had brought it to our attention that although the city had done their reporting in the past, it wasn't necessarily done the way it should have been. He is proposing to have James Moore do the reporting from this year on to the end of the reporting period, which is 2027, for what's it, $2,950. That would, as I said, take care of the reporting for each year until 2027. I feel this is something that we should consider having them do for us, since they actually are familiar with the reporting requirements and they're doing it for a number of cities currently. They had offered to do it for Oak Hill sometime in the past couple of years, but Oak Hill never took them up on the offer.
So all of 2024, 25, 26, and 27.
Yes.
For how much?
Would it be all past reporting too? So you said all past reporting?
No, the city has done their reporting in the past,
Okay.
but he was saying it wasn't done properly.
Is he gonna go back and redo that?
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask.
Huh?
No.
Leave sleeping dogs lie.
Yep.
Joanne, do you have a comment?
That sounds like a pretty good deal then.
Yeah, for 5 years.
How often is the reporting?
It is annual reporting.
Annual.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Good.
On consensus or a motion and a vote?
Motion and a vote.
He
Do I
doesn't
have
want
a motion
consensus.
to approve the $2,950 for James Moore's ARPA proposal?
I'll make the motion.
Have a motion.
I will second it.
We have a second. Further discussion?
I think it's a good deal for 4 years.
For
worth of
4
work.
years,
Yeah,
right.
money well spent.
Yeah.
Call for the
Don't want-
vote?
Commissioner Catagano,
Yes.
Commissioner Hyatt,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Linlaw,
Yes.
Mayor Gibson.
Yes. Okay. Now we can move on to Mike Arment.
You left out the ditch cleaning, Nancy coming.
Nope, it's Pete.
It's coming up.
It's afterward.
Our new resident, Mr. Nolan, found Lighthouse Cove CCR on their website. So we can just look it up on that, or you get to look it up on that if you're lucky. A couple of years ago, I worked with a guy, a property auctioneer, and at the time, the property market was such that if you want to get rid of it, you auction it. You need to put a reserve on it, and I think the reserve should be what they say we owe. If you went with a real estate salesperson, you might get a little bit more money, but there's some risk there because if it's auction, it's as is where is with all faults, and it's the buyer's responsibility to discover them. If you go with a real estate agent, then it gets more complicated. I got a certified letter from a CPA firm in Tallahassee, which I figured couldn't be a scam because certified letters are a little too expensive to advertise, or something, and I looked at it and read it and turned it upside down and read it again. It seems that if you have an ag exemption on your property, not zoned agricultural, but you have an ag exemption, like you're raising bees or cows or whatever, you have to go on file with the Department of Agriculture by the end of this month. or DEP will give you a one-way ticket to Guantanamo. So be aware. There is a job fair at the Brannan Center this Wednesday between 3 and 7. We have 37 employers so far. They're looking for kids who need summer jobs, kids who are looking for internships, people who are looking for full-time jobs, people who are looking for part-time jobs. So a lot of the companies here in town, in Southeast Volusia, this is a function of SEVMATech, by the way, Southeast Volusia Manufacturing and Technology. And it's free, so come up and say hello. Last item I have, I found a little bit disturbing. You remember Time Warner? They had 1.2 stars out of 5. They voted world's worst customer service for 500 years straight or something. They've now rebranded themselves as Spectrum. And they have sent somebody around town knocking on doors, Joe Buck's customers specifically, telling them that, hey, he's going to raise your rates and you need to go with us. And Joe Buck called them and he said they were very, very rude and he has no intention of raising their rates. So I'm a little bit nervous about dealing with Spectrum because they lying to people before they even have them as customers. So that's just my view on the situation.
You're going door to door?
They're going door to door.
Spectrum?
Spectrum. The person's name is a Ms. Wong, and when Joe talked to her, she said, well, that's what my head office told me to say. As in, I was only following orders, yeah. So I'm not impressed by their sales tax.
2 wrongs make a right.
No Wongs make a right in this case.
I'm sure he's the wrong number.
Thank you, Mike. All right. Next up, Public Works, Nancy Cummings Park, interliner cleaning and CCTV inspection.
Yes.
Kenya wanted to speak next for the historical.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't know if it's not on there this time.
No, I just thought.
Okay. So, the historical board, we in the museum participated in the Heritage Festival in New Smyrna this past weekend. That was a really big success. We had a lot of people inquiring. The museum has been invited to several other events. We had a lot of questions about our building and the upcoming sign that's going to be placed. So that was a really neat event to attend. April 18th, we'll be hosting a museum breakdown. We would love anybody that would like to come out and help us. What we're doing is the displays and the entire museum. We are going to break it down to the middle of the room. And we're going to redesign the inside. We've come up with a great new plan. It's kind of a story of Oak Hill is what we're going with. We're excited about it. We've worked on it for a while. And then May 9th will be the putback of the museum. The school is going to send students. They have a program where the 11th and 12th graders are earning their hours. So they're going to come over at both times and kind of help out as well. And so we're excited about that. We did get the date for the shipment of the sign will be the first week of May. So they will be contacting Aaron and myself just to give us the date that it ships out because it has to be delivered by freight and removed with machine. So all of that will be arranged. So our donations of our rock and brick we have put out. Pee-wee Wood was there today and he's going to donate his time and be the brick mason to finish the brick around our sign. The brick was donated by the Bailey Sigler Company and it's the brick off the New Smyrna First Baptist Church, which is significant to most of all Oak Hill students that have ever gone through there because that's where they held our baccalaureate. So it's really neat that we're having these bricks and it's gonna be part of the museum there. So the last couple things is we're still working on getting some Wi-Fi. We're really needing that. I know Jerome's on that, and our lights and our safety for outside. We still really need that there. So, but that is our update for the museum. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Mark, here he comes. Wants money.
He's already spent it.
Mark Bell, Public Works Supervisor. Just to touch on what you said real quick, I did purchase a new light for under the gazebo, and I did get another motion sensor light. I'm just waiting for Mr. Merritt to,
Nice.
when he puts the wire in, it'll be all hooked up, and there won't be any more, switches or anything on the gazebo. It'll all be a dusk to dawn sensor that'll be mounted up on the building, so nobody will be able to cover it up, and nobody will be able to turn the lights off under the gazebo, which has been a problem thus far. The Nancy Cummings Park. What you see here is an inliner cleaning and CCTV inspection. After meeting with the rep from Inliner out there, he suggested that we clean the pipe and run the cameras through it to see if it even needs to be lined, because that wasn't done previously. It has been brought to my attention. Jerome had mentioned it to me, and actually Mr. Dean brought it up to my attention that before I started working here, there was apparently money approved to have the county put new piping in that ditch. I don't know if anybody was on the board when that happened, but
I was. It was on my very first meeting as a
Yeah, I think
commissioner.
we approved like
November.
$30,000 for the county to.
but
20 grand, yeah.
I've never heard of that project before, so I.
We have minutes from that meeting.
But when I asked Patrick from the county about putting new pipe in it, he told me no, that they wouldn't do it. I don't know who the agreement was made with,
It was
or
Melissa.
why it
He
was
has a
never,
copy of that.
or why it was never acted on, but the recommendation of the gentleman from Inliner was to actually clean the pipe first and run the camera through it before taking action to do the actual inliner. And we have proposals from Inliner for Nancy Cummings Park and Halifax and Gage Street area, which have been, we've had those for over a year now. And the price hasn't changed because of their contract, which we're piggybacking on through Volusia County. So until they renegotiate their contract, we still get the same price, which it hasn't been renegotiated yet. And that's all I got for you.
Well, I personally think Nancy Cummings is where the money should be spent.
I think you're right.
Yep.
And one of the comments I've made on this, Art, is you said that, and I'm not an engineer, but you said there's two 24-inch pipes on the north end in Nancy Cummings.
One.
One?
There's a pipe that goes from Wood to the open ditch of the house.
And that's 24-inch?
That's what I was told by the county, because they were the ones that originally
Put it in? They hopefully would know.
They said that all.
Because,
in the interlocal agreement when they turned the park over to the city.
Spending $92.50 to put that pipe, have it inspected, I don't know if that's money well spent.
I'm
I
just
mean,
going based
that'll
on his
tell you if it's
recommendation.
blocked or if it's crushed, but
Of all the items I've seen float down that ditch, I can almost guarantee you that it's obstructed.
yeah. Well,
I mean, we can
we have to-
verify that information with the county, but they said that all of the information that I gave you about the piping and everything that's in place, they basically did an as-built of the park, and it should be in the interlocal agreement from when they turned the park over to the city, is what I was told.
I don't want to hesitate too much. We got hurricane season coming and their forecast is not helping. So if this will speed things up, let's move forward, is my opinion.
Well, the only
Right.
question would be, do you want them to line it, or do you want them to inspect it first?
Well, I think we should have it inspected first to see
Well,
if
if
it
we're gonna-
needs,
yeah.
if it doesn't need a liner, then
It just needs to be cleaned out.
Yeah.
And we just save
Yeah.
over $45,000 or so.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's go that road. We need a motion from
Jerome,
Mr.
I have a question. Did you ever
sir.
send that or ask the county about that document that I gave you? Because,
No, I didn't.
you know, it was from them.
I didn't.
$20,000. So you're talking about spending half of what we already, you know, we already had this conversation in your office. You're talking about spending half of what we already approved money for just to find out if we need to do something that's, and how much does the thing even cost to get lined if we did go that route?
To do the lining, I believe it was in the.
It was way up there, like way high.
It's somewhere between $52,000 and $56,000.
Right.
You talking about Nancy Cummings or?
Yes, sir, Nancy Cummings.
Halifax
They were
and
both,
Gates.
they were both in that $50,000 range, somewhere between 52 and 56. And to answer your question before, where you wanted to continue the pipe going basically to the property line or to where Willow Street would come through, that's an additional, he said rough estimate, about another 100 to 120,000.
If we move fast enough, we can submit to FEMA. But I think they've got a deadline.
Yes. The grant that I'm working on with them right now, the deadline is April 30th.
To get it in there.
Yes.
Better move real fast.
Tight fast.
Yeah.
I do have a couple people want to comment on this.
Okay.
So Charlie Dean?
Charlie Dean, 157 East Halifax, and some of my questions was answered. Number one, there was 20,000 approved last year, and the county was going to put in two 20-inch pipes.
18.
Huh?
18.
18-inch. But it's going to put two, okay, not one. We also discussed back then whether, and Mayor, you and I had the discussion, whether it'd be prudent just to open that ditch up. Okay, it'd be a whole lot cheaper. Ronnie could probably tell you real quick how much cheaper it'd be to open it up and let it flow over to Wood Avenue. No matter what we do, if we don't go south of Wood Avenue and clean them ditches, I don't care if you put a 36-inch pipe in there. It's going to flood.
Yep.
Okay?
The whole thing needs to be done.
So, you know, and I know we're working incrementally, but, you know, to me, the easiest way would be to open that ditch up, put fence up inside the ditch, and put a crosswalk across that ditch. Okay? The Parks and Recs guys can keep it clean. You know, run down it with a weed eater, clean it instead of getting down in there with the lawnmower and getting them stuck. Things like that. So that's something to keep in mind instead of just going and throwing more money in it that we've already approved and we don't have nothing in Parks and Recs.
Carrie Warning?
Well, I already brought up where's the money coming from, but I do have a comment.
Come up
Didn't
front.
you say
Please.
Getting your
at the
steps
last
in.
town hall meeting there, you made the comment that we got an extra $500,000?
It's in the budget. Hopefully the governor won't redline it, but he hasn't signed the budget.
Okay.
He has
Any-
until June 30th.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's not money that we actually have?
No.
Not right
It's-
now.
It's imaginary.
It's monopoly money right now.
Thank you.
Charlie already left, but I was going to address what he was talking about on Wood Avenue. I have met with the homeowners, and we are working on getting some type of an agreement signed. I think he talked to you about it, Mr. Simpson, to where we can go on their property to clean out the ditch. I've already got a big yes from the main part of it, which is just south of Wood Avenue. The only thing I'm waiting for now is Patrick from Road and Bridge to give me a call back about them cleaning it out. So, yes, Mr. Dean is right. If we only fix one part of the problem,
Yeah.
it's just gonna back up.
Right.
But we're working on fixing that next stretch of ditch as well. We're just trying to fit all the pieces in place.
Yeah, because that whole ditch all the way down Putnam Grove Road, They
Well,
need
the only part that we are supposedly responsible for, which actually it isn't us, it's the homeowners are actually responsible for maintaining that ditch from Wood to Hickory, supposedly. But that's the area of the ditch that I'm waiting for Patrick to get a hold of me from. I've already got the blessing from the homeowners to come on their property and do it, because I know the county said that was a big issue, so I already worked on that. Now I'm just waiting for him to get back to me to give me a price on cleaning out the rest of the ditch from Wood through Hickory. After it goes past Hickory, that is all on the county. That I don't have any say-so
Control.
over that part of it, but
Yep.
we're getting there. It's just, I wish it was faster.
Yes, we all do. All right, do we proceed with the ditch cleaning and scoping and?
I don't feel really comfortable with that until Jerome checks with the county to see what's going on with that and if they would overlook our oversight. Because we did approve the funding for it, and it's, you know, we had it's the proposals from them, from the county.
And it went someplace.
I don't mean, you know, I don't want to put you on the spot, Ronnie, but could you give us an estimate on how much it would be like to open that ditch? No? I didn't think so. I don't blame you. Huh?
Nobody asked me.
I was just wondering how much, you know, if you had a rough ballpark on how much that would be as an alternative.
You're talking $50,000 to do an inspection and then a reline. Why don't you just dig the thing up and put a new one in there?
That's where I'm at with the whole thing. And I think that's the best way to go.
Well, point of order, this is ditch clean in Nancy Cummings Park.
Yeah, that's not $50,000.
No.
This was $9,000.
$9,000 to have it
The
inspected.
$50,000 was what,
And I question about spending the money, but I hate just pushing the.
Better do something.
Well, it sounds like one phone call to the county to find out if they'd still honor that proposal. I mean, what's the big deal? I can't believe it hasn't been done already. This is probably, what, the third time that it's been brought up in the last month and a half that we already approved this money? Buddy, he probably has to go to the bathroom.
I think that's an agreement.
That was a sound I don't hear very often.
Did you say no? He said
Wow.
dig a new ditch, Mayor.
I hate to table this and wait for a response from the county, but if that's what the commission wants to do, then that's what we can do.
That would be my preference.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can get an answer from the county first.
Yeah, if they're gonna
Okay.
do it, heck yeah, let them.
We'll postpone this till the next commission meeting. After
If it's a
Mr.
rush.
Adams contacts the county and says, we got an agreement?
Yeah. So if it's a problem, like if Jerome gets an answer tomorrow, why don't we just schedule a special meeting and have a vote?
Well, we can
So
do
we
that
don't have
too.
to delay it.
Yeah,
You know?
we can do that too. But really and truly, we already approved that.
We did.
Okay,
Absolutely.
So we don't really need a meeting. No.
If Jerome contacts them and they said, oh yeah, we will do that,
That's already
Let's
done.
go
next
for it.
question is, when are you
Right.
gonna do it?
Right.
Right.
So what if they if they choose to modify that? Like
Well,
they
if
say,
they-
well, you know, now today the fuel's gone up, so we want this much more. Then would we have to or no?
Yes,
Yes?
yes.
I got you.
But we could call a special
Okay.
to address
Yeah, I
that.
think that's probably the best way to
Yeah,
go with that.
me too. Me too. Okay, comments and concerns from commissioners. I'm gonna start. I went to Pastor Wood's 38th anniversary at the Bible Way Church. That is a amazing bunch of individuals. They can all sing. It was just amazing. And Then that same Saturday, we had the ward benefit. Unfortunately, it got way too noisy for property owners adjacent. We'll address that. And also during that same Saturday, the Oak Hill Community Garden had Earth Day. Had an instance, and I'm gonna bring this up. An individual who lives next door to me came to City Hall and wanted tables and chairs for the Oak Hill Community Garden. When she was told $100 deposit, she had a tantrum and said, okay, then you're not putting your dumpster on my property. So, where are we putting the dumpster rather than an aerial? Wait a minute.
Indian Creek.
We're putting it 500 yards south.
Well, we've got a piece of property. The county
It
does.
doesn't have to be on her property.
It's right next to one of the trailers that she owns,
But
but
it
that's
doesn't-
county property.
But if it doesn't belong to her.
Nope.
Well, I reached out to a citizen who was very happy to let us use the property right next to C's Diner.
Oh,
Mr. Pence.
Mr. Pence,
Yes.
all right.
I contacted him this morning and he said he'd be happy to have us have the dumpster there.
Very good.
If she doesn't like the dumpster, let her get it for
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay,
Hyatt?
2 things. Farmhouse Cats has a big yard sale this Saturday from 8 until 2. Go support the Farmhouse Cats and the Kitty Committee. And then the Friends of the Library has a concert on Sunday, the 14th, at 3 o'clock, and that's going to be Carl Bennett. He's a local chiropractor.
Yep.
Should be very good, and that's the end of our winter concerts.
Okay.
That's all.
I'm wore out and I'm not gonna do anything to hold up our exit out of here.
Vice Mayor.
Just wanted to
Thank
say
you,
that
Joe.
the Oak Hill Sports Club opening day was absolutely wonderful. The kids were great. They had a great time. We had a wonderful time. And I want to thank Aaron and Donnie and everybody that volunteered and worked so hard to get the fields ready for everything, and Park Department for all their help and everything. And it was a great success. So that's all I have.
It's great all the way around here.
Great all the way around.
Need a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Meeting adjourned. Everybody be
Fight
careful
on that.
going home. Thank you very much for your time.
Oh, sitting too long.
Okay.
Oh, is that in the,
Jerome, you want to get home? Almost 11.